The Custer County Board of County Commissioners meeting for Wednesday, March the 8th, 2017. Dallas, would you like to lead us in the pledge, please?
Oh, certainly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Cagney.
Here.
Commissioner Hood. Here. Commissioner Prince.
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And clerk to the board Kelly Camper present.
Okay. Next item is the agenda. Do we have any amendments, additions to today's agenda? No. Nothing, sir? Okay, we have none. This time we'll move into the audience introduction, please. The reason we do this is so we have a record. Later, if you make comments, whatever, we can try to figure out who was talking. And let's start over here with the Jackson.
Good. Jackie Bubas for the Sentinel.
Jessica Carter with the Early Childhood Council.
Butch Command with the Wet Mountain Valley Community Foundation.
Okay. Peter?
Your name and address.
Oh, my name is Peter Grofka, living here in town for Sussex.
Ryan Rose.
Audrey Glishka.
Renetta Gilmore.
Bob Tobin, taxpayer.
Robertson.
Dallas Anderson, Airport Advisory Board. Joe Baker, Custer County 4-H.
Beth Cartwright.
Bob Crooksma.
Kathy Rice. John Hobby.
Jake Shy.
John Jones.
Okay. Thank all of you for being here this morning.
Rob, you got some folks out.
Oh, we got some more out there. Are you?
Cindy Cardenas.
Okay. I wonder,
There are a couple seats in here. Yeah, there are some seats.
You can move right here.
Sean, I'll sit by you.
You're welcome to come in if there's a seat, whatever you want to do. And please, if you can't hear us, please come closer, ask questions out there in the hall. All right. We'll go into the public comment period at this time. Do we have any public comments today for the Board of Commissioners? John, good morning.
Good morning. Just so that everyone knows, and this is by no means directed at the county commissioners, I have reserved the community room at Cliff Lanes Thursday, September the 16th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. for a public meeting. I don't care if people want to talk about schools, the fires, whatever people want to talk about. The commissioners are invited. I have no agenda. I do not intend to speak. Simply, there will be a table set up that I invite the commissioners for y'all to field questions if the public would like to ask questions of you.
And when is this?
Thursday, the 16th, 6 to 8 p.m. at the community room at Bowling Alley. It is a public meeting with no agenda.
Okay. Kathy.
I'd like to thank the commissioners for doing the jobs they should be doing. We appreciate it. You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Can I just comment on Mr. Johnston? It's an issue if the three of us show up together, because then it could be a meeting. So I just want to make that known. It's not that we don't want to come, but it may be an issue. We'll have to talk to council and find out.
Okay. Surely y'all didn't just come here to look at our lovely faces this morning. Do any of you have some comments that you would like to make? Yes.
We got some letters that I'd like to read.
Okay.
And this is in support of the actions that have been taken with Robin Young. This is a letter that I wrote on February 13th. Dear Commissioners, I would like to address what occurred with the Fair Board appointments during the Commissioners' January meeting and would like to have clarification from the County Commissioners if the bylaws that are Fair Board approved are going to be respected.
Excuse me just a second. Do you have any objections if we provide the press with a copy of these?
Nope.
That way you won't have to take quite so many notes?
Great, thanks.
Go ahead.
The Custer County Commissioners reviewed and approved our Fair Board bylaws in February of 2016. Per those bylaws, see attachment 1, which I don't have right now. The Fair Board had It's a specific process on page 2 for persons that are interested in becoming members of the Fair Board. In the October meeting, the Fair Board voted to make the Sales Committee members of the Fair Board, and they also voted to make George Coons a liaison member of the Saddle Club as a Fair Board member. Without any prior discussion with Fair Board members, Robin Young took a list of Fair Board appointees to the Commissioners meeting that did not include the name of Deb Fisher, who was one of the Sales Committee members, and added Bill Baker, who never submitted a letter of intent to the Fair Board or met with the Fair Board specifically on becoming a Fair Board member. Since the Fair Board January meeting, I'm also questioning the motive of Robin to add Bill Baker to the Fair Board. It appears, based on a string of emails that I received from Bill, that he has a very negative preconceived opinion of the Fair Board members. The current Fair Board has been a dedicated group of individuals whose focus is to improve and grow the Custer County Fair. Based on Bill's emails to me, without any Fair Board experience on his part, I'm not certain that he has those same goals. Based on Robin's actions of revising the Fair Board appointment list that was presented to the County Commissioners without the permission by the Fair Board, and the Fair Board will be reviewing and revising the past practice of having Robin serve as a liaison for the Fair Board to the Custer County Commissioner meetings. In addition, there are 2 additional items I would like to address in reference to Robin Young, Custer County Extension Agent. Prior to the County Fair in 2014, I was the acting Fair Board President. We had an issue with a parent insisting that they sleep in the livestock barn at night. I requested that Robin contact the insurance company that covered the county fairgrounds to determine if there was a liability issue with this practice. Robin told me she contacted the insurance company and they didn't care if people were sleeping in the livestock barns. I thought this sounded strange, so I contacted the insurance company myself and explained what was occurring, and they sent me an email stating that they were concerned about that practice. When it came time to address the issue with those parents, Robin would not support addressing the issue. I then turned it over to the acting county commissioners. After this incident, Robin decided to target my son with what turned out to be false accusations for both the 2014 and 2015 county fairs. In 2015, the Fair Board took over responsibility of handling the Fair Board budget and checkbook. Prior to that, it had been the Extension Office that had control of the Fair Board budget and checkbook. Once the Fair Board took over the finances, it was discovered that the Extension Office had used Fair Board funds to employ and pay mileage to the Extension Office Secretary's daughter to help with the fair. This was done without the knowledge or the approval of the Fair Board.
Okay. Thank you.
I've got a couple letters here.
Jake Shy.
Jake Shy. This one is from Deb Fisher. She's not here, so I'll just read it. This isn't my letter, this is hers. My name is Deborah Fisher. I've served on the sales committee for Custer County Fair Board for 6 years. I believe in 4-H and FFA completely, but I believe that our current extension agent, Robin Young, has been a detriment to our community. Please allow me a moment to explain. In the last 6 years, I have witnessed some extreme and completely unprofessional behavior from our extension agent. Robin Young has told me in person in front of Beverly Gertz, quote, "If I could get rid of livestock at the county fair, I would do so in an instant." She then said, "You livestock people are a pain in my ass." I remember her that she took the job in a community that is predominantly agriculture and that it was a large and important part of our county affairs. She responded with, "Well, it won't be for long." Another example is when Robin Young decided that the Fremont County children may not be allowed to show at the Custer County Fair unless she determined they could. Fremont County children have shown at our fair for a long time before she became extension agent. She also did this at a time that a number of our livestock exhibits were at an all-time low. She did this because she was angry at a few parents that lived in Fremont County. The only reason she backed down is this one because I personally asked the county commissioner to show up and question the decision she had made. Her anger towards parents impaired her judgment as an extension agent. At another meeting, I sat right next to Robin. A decision was made she disapproved of. She literally threw her pen down and pushed the table we shared. Had I not grabbed it, the table would have tipped over. Present at this meeting were some 4-H youngsters. A last example I wish to share with you is what happened at last year's fair. I currently work at Town & Country Auto located in Salida. She called my boss, Ron Taylor, and requested a 4-H truck she wanted to display for the raffle. Indicated she would display a sign with our logo near the truck. Ron agreed. He had one brand new Ford detailed inside and out. She gave a date she would pick up the truck. The date came and went. Robin didn't call. Ron, the guy that owns Town & Country, placed a call to her. She indicated first that she had started in Coaldale and made it impassable to get to Salida. Ron then indicated she lived in Texas Creek and I lived near Hillside. The roads had never been closed. She said she would not be there the following day to pick up the truck. 2 days went by and not a word. Ron called her again, told her I would deliver the truck. She said no, she would be there the next day. Again, was a no-show. Ron made several calls and left several messages. She never returned his call. The day of our sale, sitting in front of everyone was a Pharisee Ford truck. The problem is this, it's very simple. Town & Country Auto spends anywhere from $18,000 to $20,000 a year at a fair. Pharisee Ford spends zero. The day of the fair, Ron Taylor said he almost walked away when he saw the truck. Robin Young was willing to anger one of the county's best supporters because of her dislike for me. She puts her personal feelings for people before the kids of this county. That is unprofessional. I could continue for several more pages. I could include how she has conveniently lost my child's registration forms, how she somehow managed to forget to add my name to the list of board members on the fair, or her name on the fair board list to be approved, how she failed to follow bylaws and had an individual put on the fair board that she had never been approved. I'll leave you with this last thought. Our society is run on rules. We have rules for driving, voting, and we have rules for who can hold what job or profession in life. Robin was hired with the agreement she would obtain a master's degree within a certain time frame. That time has long come and gone. To my knowledge, she still has not obtained her master's. That alone should disqualify from her current position. If we chose not to hold people in the job requirements, that I will encourage you to hire me as the county attorney next time the position is available. No, I'm not currently attorney, but apparently that does not matter. I am not a Custer County resident. 3 of my children have graduated from Custer County High School and 1 is in middle school. My husband works for the Custer County High School. Up until a year ago, I worked in Custer County. I say to illustrate that we just embedded into this community as any one of you. Even though I did not vote for the current commissioners, I support the decision you have made regarding Robin Young. They made a decision in favor of the youth. Robin Young does not support the livestock kids in our community. With Robin out of the office, 4-H will be bigger and better. Sincerely, Deb Fisher.
Anybody else?
I have 3 letters from 2 people who can't attend, and then from myself. So I apologize. It's going to be a little long, but I think from a lot of people who are complaining about the commissioner's decisions, I have never seen any of you at a fair board meeting, except for Bill, at a foundation meeting, and I think you all really need to be educated on what we've experienced and what has happened behind the scenes, because you're only hearing one side, and the other side is not very pretty. My name is Audrey Glushka, and I've had a significant involvement with our 4-H program for the last 10 years. My affiliation has been as a 4-H Foundation member and president, fair board member, co-leader of our largest club, and most importantly, a parent of a 4-H member. Others have touched on misinformation being spread regarding the foundation spending, again, all under Robin's consent. My experience with our agent has been consistently frustrating. In all capacities, she has not led, but rather manipulated her way with many to satisfy herself and her friends. There are rules that need to be applied, and we all respect them. Our former extension agent has conveniently bent the rules for those she prefers and created new rules for the ones she would like to see leave the program. As an example is my daughter. She has been a solid, successful member since she was 8 years old. For her high school years, we decided to send her out of the county in spite our family living here full-time. Robin proceeded to create her own rules. My daughter was required to write a statement as to why she wanted to remain in our county 4-H program. She was required to write a monthly journal on her horse project. throughout the whole year, even though the horse designation is not made till May 1st every year before fair. She did this for 2 years. She was also asked in front of me, won't you be happier being in another 4-H county program in another county? Imagine that, as a student and your extension agent is asking that of you. Unbelievable. Discrimination, harassment. Please know that at the time, there were several other kids living outside of the county participating in our program, not being required to do anything in addition to being members of her program. This kind of action is unacceptable for an agent who selectively chooses to try and have an exclusive instead of an inclusive program. This is not an overnight decision that our commissioners have made. As you can see, these issues have been going on for years. And finally, we have a board that is willing to have an honest program to get an honest agent for honest kids. This was not an easy decision for them, and I am grateful that we have a board that is finally listening to an issue that has festered for years. Here's another letter. To the Board of County Commissioners and guests present. Dear Sirs and Madam, I apologize for not being able to attend in person at this meeting as it falls during my working hours. I thank you for the opportunity for someone to read this letter on my behalf in regards to the decision made about the extension agent. In the community, many have expressed shock, outrage, disbelief, and sadness over this decision. I would like to say that all of those feelings are valid, but only if both sides of the story are known. In this particular case, there are truly more than two sides of the story, as the extension agent was involved with not only 4-H and the Fair Board. I hope that the public is open to hear the information provided by the different organizations, boards, and individuals the extension agent worked with in order to make a more informed decision about how they feel about the BOCC's decision. Without all the information, one could easily interpret the decision as being a personal attack. I will state that the extension agent has always been very supportive and encouraging to my stepdaughter, and that compassion has not and will not be forgotten. That being said, the following is not personal by any means. It is quite simply business. I served as secretary for the 4-H Custer County 4-H Foundation from 2014 to 2017. Historically, there has been miscommunication, misuse of information, and lack of communication between the extension agent and the foundation board. I would like to provide examples at this time. We operate under the impression that there were a 501(c), and in fact the foundation is and has been since the early 60s, as seen in the Colorado Secretary of State website. The board was informed that the chartering process would take away our ability to function as a community board. Polly Miller was voted in this year as vice president and Bill Baker as president. After the passing of the baton to Bill, he requested the extension agent stop payment on a check of $4,000 to go towards livestock pen repairs and improvements that our board had voted on and approved. Polly questioned whether the extension agent was even on the foundation's bank account. We as a board had never approved her as a signer and therefore had never presented minutes to the bank stating that she could be on the account. Just because Polly questioned the validity and legality of the extension agent on the bank account, she was removed from the board. She was removed by Bill and the extension agent because she was untrustworthy. Come to find out that behind the 4-H Foundation's back and every 4-H club in the county, the extension agent presented a letter of authority, from who I have no idea, to the bank to get her access to financial records and the power to freeze any and all of their funds. The extension agent did this in October last year. She did not inform any of the clubs or organizations. No minutes or board approvals were given. How untrustworthy, informing, and transparent is that? Why the secrecy? I feel that as a nonprofit, which the foundation is, Polly deserved the fair and reasonable process of removing a board member as stated in the Colorado state statutes regarding nonprofits. I would also like to know who had the authority to add the extension agent to several bank accounts without any current signers authorizing her. The extension agent attempted to make changes to the bylaws that stated that she could remove any member at any time for any reason or no reason at all, and that she would have the final decision on everything the board did. She stated that the change came from the CSU and state foundation. This would essentially give a non-voting member the ability to make all decisions and veto anything and everything a board voted to do. Wouldn't that jeopardize a nonprofit status? Why even have a board if one person can make all the decisions? Because the suggested change to the bylaws raised so many questions, we asked the extension agent for the correspondence from the CSU Extension and State Foundation. That correspondence was never provided, and no other examples of the verbiage in other foundations or 4-H club bylaws could be found. Several board members emailed and called Jean G. and Bill, the representatives who were present at the workshop. Neither responded after several attempts. Unable to prove that this change to the bylaws was an actual state requirement or suggestion, and not being able to find that change in any other county bylaws or board did not approve that change. In the past meetings which the extension agent was in attendance, the foundation donated funds to the Saddle Club to help with tractor repairs. The Saddle Club really helped out with the arena ground for the horse show. The extension agent did not oppose that decision to donate to them. She did not inform us that under the chartering we were not allowed to donate to other nonprofit or question whether or not we could. She wasn't supportive of that donation to say thank you. These funds were pulled out of a different line item in the budget, and there was no issue expressed by the extension agent. In the past meetings which the extension agent was in attendance, she herself discussed how the foundation could work as the avenue through which donations could be collected to go to the Fairground Capital Improvement Plan. There were electrical issues and other building repairs that needed to be done to improve safety. She was in support then. Why is she against donating now? She didn't state any problems in the past when giving money to help fairgrounds, and even suggested and encouraged it. She never expressed a concern or problem moving funds around and pulling money from other areas in the budget to cover a new steer clinic or donations to other groups in the past. If monies donated were earmarked for certain things such as camp or scholarships, that is where the money went and wouldn't be spent on anything, but that determined by the earmark. The $4,000 check for the livestock pen improvement isn't a budget issue. It's not allowed issue or a misuse of funds issue. It's an issue of the board being led to believe that donated to the Saddle Club, another nonprofit, using money from another line item is okay. It is an issue of the extension agent not personally liking the idea of spending funds for the repairs and improvement of the livestock pens. If Jean G. and Bill Noble stated at the workshop that the extension agent makes the final call, how would we know how to operate any different than we have over the past years? They never responded to us when we requested a definitive answer as to the extension agent's role on the foundation board. The Custer County Cattlewomen have always been the foundation's biggest donor every year. They decided one year to give the funds to the extension agent specifically for the new 4-H membership and project scholarships. They were unimpressed with the lack of reporting on how the money was spent and how many youth actually utilized the funds that the next year Cattlewomen donated directly to the foundation. Feeling better having a community board managing the funds rather than one individual. All of the literature I found through the CSU Extension Agent Employee Manual and Memorandum states that the 4-H agent's role in the community is to support, to help, facilitate, and educate. Nowhere does it say control, dictate, or have a final say. I am saddened that the extension agent did not inform the foundation board that the chartering process would possibly take away the autonomy of its nonprofit status, or that the board had a choice in the matter. I am saddened that the extension agent did not inform the foundation board that with chartering, the board would have all the responsibilities and roles of a nonprofit, but none of the rights of its dedicated volunteer board members. I am frustrated, confused, and baffled as to how the extension agent is able to go behind all of the clubs and the foundation and add herself to bank accounts. If it was a simple, innocent, non-threatening process that needed to be done, why hide it and not disclose that information? I am confused that the extension agent stood by and supported and encouraged our decisions on donations in the past and did a complete 180 now. I understand that the community is seeing the BOCC's decision as a personal attack and over a $4,000 check. That's mostly due to timing and misinformation being spread around. If that is the sole basis of the BOCC's decision, then I will gladly join those who are crying injustice. I believe, however, that over the course of several years, the extension agent has had poor communication, miscommunication, and misuse of information in various boards and aspects of her work, which ultimately have led to this decision. I am not present. I look forward to listening to the recording of this meeting, how others in the community have responded, and other information presented, so I can make an informed decision about how I feel about the BOCC's decision. I thank the board and all guests present for listening. Respectfully, Mackenzie Huffman.
Okay. Bill?
I would like to address any issues about the Fair Board or the current Custer County 4-H Council, because I'm the president of that council. I'm a member of the Fair Board, appointed legitimately by you commissioners through the correct process, nothing to do with the Fair Board, but through the community, through an open letter that anyone could have applied. That's who I am. That $4,000 check, we went through that incessantly with Bill and Jean. Anyone
I think we've already addressed the check. These are people that are responding. We reached a decision on the check. We recognized that it was appropriate in the manner in which it was stopped.
Yes, sir.
I mean, this has been done in an open forum, so forth. And I'm comfortable with this.
What we don't understand is that the people that used to be on this foundation agreed by chartering to those bylaws that are set forth. They can't say after signing up that they changed their mind and don't know.
Okay, that's fine. Any other comments?
And Robin wants every child in 4-H to be treated the same. This county has historically...
You don't have a child.
Just a minute, please. Let's be
I
respectful.
don't need a child.
Please.
That keeps me from not having an axe to grind because I don't have a child. I have my own children that don't live in this county that are adults. The point is that 4-H and Extension are not livestock. The Fair Board and the Sales Committee only award large awards to livestock children.
Wait a minute.
They don't.
Please, folks, please, let's keep order, please.
Bill has the
This is
floor.
all based
Please
on
allow
facts
him to
what's there
finish.
coming up.
Sir,
Please.
please.
Bill,
Go ahead.
The Fair Board and the Sales Committee only award livestock children. They do not award shooting sports children. I award shooting sports children. There is no point in over-awarding the same people.
Where is your point going with this? We appreciate what you do.
That the county should be more concerned about every child in 4-H instead of just the livestock children in 4-H.
Okay. Thank you.
Can
Next.
I address this, Bob?
Yes, ma'am.
For one thing, the past 2 years, the Custer County Fair Board has raised the premiums for all those kids that have not, that aren't in the livestock program. Prior to that, when the extension agent had it, it was never raised. So
And they've also-
Excuse me, Bill. You're out of order, please. Go ahead.
the livestock kids sell
Didn't mean to scare you, Jackie.
their projects through the sale. That's not the Fair Board awarding them. That is those that are participating in that sale that are buying those projects. So that the Fair Board wants all kids in all projects to excel, and we try to award them more every year. We've raised that budget for that. So we're not taking sides as far as a Fair Board holding one project over another. We're trying to look for ways of awarding all kids.
Okay. What?
I was the horse superintendent last year, and I know the kids were all upset because they didn't get buckles. And my comment to the kids is the reason the livestock kids get them is because 3% of their check is given back to the fair every year. It's held out by the sales committee to run the sale. So that's where the money comes from for those trophies, I guess you'd call it. So that kind of is why the livestock kids get a little bit more prizes or a buckle at the end that says Grand Champion, because you take a $15,000 sale, 3% of that, they more than paid for their buckle they earned. Could I read you the letter I wrote?
Please.
To whom it may concern, I'm writing this letter with concern for our current horse program. I was horse superintendent last year and saw the lack of basic safety taught to the kids. I did a one-time mandatory basic safety and horsemanship clinic at the start, but it was never done any further. The leaders we have do not teach safe handling or basic horsemanship, so the students were not ready to move on. I also noticed that the practices were never held at the same time or at the same location that it was supposed to be. So when this happened, a number of kids missed the practice. I took my daughter to all the practices and watched them as well. I'm surprised there weren't more wrecked. I saw not very broke horses with novice riders and very little coaching on how to get better. When I went to the fair board with my concerns on how poor the horse show was and how unsafe the year went, I volunteered to take the program over. And I had some awesome ideas on how we could make a fun, safe, and effective practices that would go great all year. All in attendance, as well as the extension agent, were in agreement. I later went to apply to be a leader and was told by Robin that the program was fine and that there were no changes needed, even though at the fair board meeting she said I would be able to take the program over. The way it is now, I will not let any of my 3 daughters be in the program. There are numerous parents who will not let their kids take horses anymore either. I have been involved in the horse business my whole life. I have an associate's degree in equine management. My business was starting colts for close to 10 years. I have showed and rodeoed at all levels, including several national championships. So I do have a little knowledge in the horse industry. In other words, I'm not just a whiny parent. I have noticed that our current extension agent's passion is not in the livestock end of things. That's fine, but it concerns me in the direction she wants to steer our 4-H program. We live in a livestock community and we need to make sure progress in our livestock at the fair is going in the right direction. I'm also chairman of the FFA advisory board, and there have been several times when Robin undermined the FFA program because she only supports 4-H. The FFA committee decided to request to get her off our board because she says one thing to your face and turns around and completely changes what she said or what the board said. And the way she got on our FFA advisory committee, our previous ag teacher was brand new, and she walked in and told him it was required, the extension agents on the FFA advisory, which FFA and 4-H are not. That is completely untrue. But to do things right, we've had to, we wanted to dot our I's and cross our T's before we let somebody go. If anybody wants to get a hold of me or discuss any of the concerns that I mentioned or any that I might have forgotten to write down, you can call me. I left my number at the bottom of this message, or at the bottom of this letter.
Okay, I apologized a minute ago when I startled you folks, but in due respect to everybody, I want each of you to have a fair time to say your piece without being interrupted. Anybody else? Let's try to go around the room once and then we'll come back. Anybody else?
There's another letter here.
Okay.
Dear County Commissioners, I will be unable to attend the public meeting. I am unsure why Custer County needs an extension agent at all. According to several extension agent roles and responsibilities, this is a summary of what an extension agent does. Custer County is mainly an agricultural community focused on raising animals. The job description should look like this. Agriculture extension agents travel throughout their region or district to provide the largest industry or the latest industry information to farmers, ranchers, community groups, and youth groups. They may present information on scientific advances, farm management, marketing, production, and other topics that are relevant to agricultural business operating in their area. Agents must be familiar with the types of agricultural operations that are taking place in their territory. These pursuits may include beef production, dairy farming, irrigated crop farming, fruit farming, egg production, horse breeding, swine production, and more. Agents must also be familiar with technical terminology, equipment, and other concerns related to each area of production. Significant travel may be part of the job, especially if the agent is assigned to a large territory. Agents may visit farms, ranches, hatcheries, dairies, stables, orchards, fields, beef farms, agricultural facilities, and a variety of other agricultural businesses located during the course of their day. Agents may also be required to attend a variety of community activities such as conventions, fairs, college events, camps, and 4-H shows. I have highlighted the area where I think that our current extension agent is lacking. Instead of encouraging our 4-Hers instead of encouraging our young 4-Hers to engage in their agricultural community, Robin Young tends to discourage the activity. It is important to encourage all aspects of 4-H, but not to try to blatantly turn kids away from their livestock projects using the words like, "the animals will die" at the end of the project. This project of word, or this type of wording is not appropriate. Robin Young has done numerous things to inhibit the growth of livestock projects, and the latest one where the foundation gave money for capital improvements for the livestock pens, and she stopped payment on the check, which she has convinced Bill Baker that this is the appropriate thing to do when he was only newly elected. Robin Young incites gossip and fuels problems between 4-H families, volunteers, and boards. The extension agent should be able to remain neutral to all parties. It is inappropriate to talk about everyone behind their back, and I mean everyone. I have been in the same room as she is talking about someone, and makes me wonder what she is saying about others, including myself. We live in a very small community that should be focused on growing our kids in the rural way of life. 4-H motto, to make the best better. Robin Young's action nor words inhibit this motto. She wants to make everyone the same. Everyone is a winner. We all are not good at everything that we do. Don't have to be. It can help us grow and find our gifts in life. She continually complains about how much money the livestock kids get compared to indoor projects. Livestock kids have to put much more money, time, and effort into their projects. Any of the indoor project participants have the opportunity to have livestock and vice versa. Indoor projects are wonderful, but with most of us spending our days outside, they are not as feasible. For example, Denver 4-H groups thrive on these indoor projects, and they have found a way to encourage youth in that area. Robin is rarely in her office or available, so why pay for someone who isn't there or actively participates in encouraging rural agricultural or livestock development in our community? Before we didn't have an extension agent, it all worked out well. The fair happened every year, and with the support of the whole community, things got done. I think it's the way it should be. This is the 4-H pledge, and if we have an extension agent that encompasses the motto and the 4-H pledge, that would be wonderful. The pledge is, I pledge my heart to clearer thinking, or I pledge my head to clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living for my club, my community, my country, and my world. I would sign my name to this letter, but I fear a backlash in the program, and isn't that sad?
Okay, is there anybody out in the hall there? I'm sorry, I can't see you. Now, well, we have just a break.
I have one more letter from somebody who's not here.
Okay, just a second. Brenda, when we finish here, would you please gather all these letters up?
Yep.
Would you, because I promised that she'd get a copy of them. Please, if you don't mind. Okay.
Bob, can I?
Yes, please.
Yesterday, we had, in the commissioners' meeting, we had a largely pro-Robin Young group. Today, we're hearing the other side, mostly anti-Robin Young. This is public comment section. We have on the agenda for March 31, as an agenda item, to discuss this further, but we have a lot of other things on the agenda. This is just my suggestion. The letter that I think she's about to read, the one from Cheryl, is, I mean, I've looked at it, it's very lengthy, it's got a lot of detail, technical things. I think people's eyes are going to be rolling over, and it's probably going to take 15 minutes for her to read this. My recommendation would be you accept it into the record. It's a public record. And the one thing I want to say, the Board of County Commissioners has made its decision regarding Robin Young. These are all people that are either supporting or advocating for her, but it's not going to change what they've done. And because of the confidentiality of personnel issues, they cannot comment further on why they took the action they did. So they're essentially giving everybody a chance to express their opinions, and maybe we can set aside more time at the end of the month if they want to do it. When they go to John's meeting that he's scheduled on March 16th, this may be something people want to talk about, but it seems, especially on this letter, which is going to take a long time for her to read, and it's your decision. Whether you want it read into the record, you can certainly accept it into the record. It's a public document. Everybody can have a copy. if they want to see it, but I'm just in the interest of trying to preserve time for the board, I would suggest you do it that way rather than have her read this long letter, which in summary, well, I'm not going to summarize it. People can read it and decide for themselves.
The only issue I have is we took almost an hour yesterday.
Right. And we had a lot of people waiting. We've got people waiting now who are on the agenda.
Right. But I'll ask my fellow commissioners what your thoughts are, but I'll ask you.
Well, I know it's long, and I know that she had wished to be here. So I guess because of what we experienced yesterday, Clint, I think it's only fair that that letter be read so that it is recorded, because we now have people listening to the recordings. So that would mean they would have to come in and get a copy of that. So I'm going to say, for the sake of those that can't be here, that would listen to that recording, this is an opportunity for them.
Jay?
I feel it should be read because I just feel it would be inappropriate to exclude one letter when we heard the rest of them. We didn't exclude anybody yesterday, so I feel it's appropriate.
I will.
You did cut it off
I
yesterday,
will.
but it was an hour, so.
Pardon me?
You did cut it off yesterday, but it was an hour, so I would disagree with that statement, but you're right, it went an hour yesterday, I have it in my notes.
So I think, we need to go a little more, I think, and I sure want to get back to Bill because he's got some comments. But I think in the interest of fairness, I would invite you to read the letter.
I'm going to read it if
Hey,
that's all right. Hi, guys.
sure.
I was in the hall.
Good.
This to Custer County Commissioners and local newspaper editors. Some citizens are questioning the actions of our elected officials, from the president to our county and city officials. While it is the right of every citizen to speak out and protest, it is disheartening when some encourage chaos and discontent without having all the facts. Stating anything other than the facts or partially revealing facts to suit a specific agenda serves to stir up discontent by mere speculation and potentially without cause. I encourage those exposed to such speculations to consider the source and their motives and to research the facts before forming conclusions. The latest local issues relate to the Custer County Board of County Commissioners handling of personnel issues. It makes sense that unless employees involved agree to publicly release specifics, they will not be made public, and the BOCC cannot comment on speculative allegations. The BOCC has an HR department and an attorney advising it. If I was an employee and had done something against policy, make a mistake, etc., I would appreciate being protected from potential public embarrassment. On the other hand, if the BOCC treated me unfairly, there are state and federal laws protecting me. While I don't know all the reasons for the BOCC requested a change in the CSU extension agent, I will share what I know as Custer County 4-H Foundation board member from 2014 to 2017 and have discovered through research. Below are some links to the Colorado Secretary of State Extension and the BOCC websites. The IRS change for nonprofits with reviews less than $25,000 and the subsequent National 4-H Foundation change and the CSUE change 4 or 5 years ago. CSU's Mrs. Glowich referenced at the BOC workshop allowed for local groups to decide whether they would fall under that. I'm just going to avoid some of those.
Sure.
Or remain a
I assume you're avoiding the Colorado Revised Statutes that you're citing. Is that correct?
CSUE.
Okay.
Is that called?
No. It's Colorado State University Extension.
Cheryl's research is always impeccable, I may add. And have discovered, is referenced at the BOCC workshop, allowed for local groups to decide whether they would fall under the Colorado 4-H, or remain a separate entity, applying for a 401c3 status, filing IRS Form 990 with a memorandum of understanding, and the Colorado 4-H Foundation to use the 4-H name, emblems, etc. The excerpt below from the CSU handbook allows for separate, basically what Cheryl's saying in this is that a foundation, you can either be under the CSU Foundation or you can apply for a separate 401c3, 501c3. and she's letting us know a county 4-H agent or county director wants to wield as a county decision. Therefore, no organization may use the 4-H name without permission. How much control is allowed at the county level is a state decision. An issue arises when separate entities using the name of 4-H raise funds because Extension has responsibility to assure that funds raised in the name of 4-H are raised and handled according to the law. It is necessary to obtain annual financial statements from such entities. Note, this doesn't say CSUE office or its EA have control over these organizations, but there is a need to obtain annual financial statements, likely and rightly, to ensure the terms of the MOU are being followed. Since I wasn't a CC4H board member in 2012, I asked others who were in that to recall being advised of this change and given a choice about the status. We were never told, is what she's saying, that we had a choice at that time. So we went on under those auspices. In December 2014, the CSUEA asked to add a clause to the Custer County 4-H Foundation bylaws.
EA is extension agent.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Stating that she is in control and can remove any board member for any reason or no reason at all. The board did not approve the bylaw change and requested multiple times that the Colorado State University Extension agent and/or CSUE officials provide documentation. Various board members, including myself, tried to go directly to the CSUE office and left messages and emails for Ms. Golowski with no response. Another request was noted in February in the minutes of 2015. Further discussions occurred in August, September, and October. The outgoing board advised the incoming board about these unresolved issues. At no time has Colorado State University agent or anyone from CSUE provided the information to that board, and the CSUE would not, and all of this would not have occurred. I would have resigned, as it seems a moot point to be on a board with no authority. What do you want to read smaller than that?
Because of the lack of full disclosure, the Custer County 4-H Foundation boards have been operating since this change occurred sometime in 2012 without knowledge and understanding of this change. The Articles of Incorporation and the attached by inclusion bylaws give full authority for decisions to the Foundation Board. She mentions a website. The Articles of Incorporation for the 4-H Foundation as a nonprofit available on this Colorado website link state in Article 2, Section 13, that it is not subordinate to the state organization, which at the time was named Colorado 4-H and Older Youth Foundation. The name was later changed to the Colorado 4-H Foundation. Additionally, the Custer County 4-H Foundation filed annual reports with the state of Colorado. It had its own federal tax ID, and its registered agent was a board member until 2012. This link is the change of the registered agent from the CSU extension agent sent to the state in 2012, naming herself, Robin, as the registered agent, signed by herself, stating that the entity for Custer County 4-H Foundation had been notified of this change. Sarah Shields was the prior registered agent since 2008. The Custer County 4-H Foundation president after Ms. Shields was Audrey Glushka, and she told me she doesn't recall this ever being discussed or disclosed. It wasn't. If so, minutes prior to 2012 would include it. Number 3, according to the CSU Extension Handbook and their financial and legal guidelines, extension agents are restricted to having access to banking information, not control, even those of the foundations who fall under the authority of the Custer County 4-H Foundation. Then she quotes several things and highlights, nor should the CSU extension agent be responsible for accounting for receipts or expenditures thereof. She also highlights 4-H foundations and councils, such as groups, have their own treasurers. Extension staff should have no authority to withdraw funds from or write checks on any association accounts except as noted below. Under no circumstances, this is from the state, under no circumstances should an extension agent employ the assigner on any account other than a county non-appropriated account. This would include 4-H club, council, and foundation accounts. Contact either the state 4-H office for the CSU HR director language for use with banks to allow agents to access account information. See financial issues. It's a direct quote from the state. The wording added to the Custer County 4-H bank accounts in October 2016 states, and those grammatical errors came from Robin, I quote, CSU Extension and the Extension agent in Custer County has the authority to request and obtain information, freeze and designate authorized signatures in regard to this account. This is what Robin submitted to our local bank. And they accepted it. Neither the CSU Extension agent nor the bank notified the foundation board or the 4-H clubs of this change in status, which is a bit unusual since changes for organizations generally require minutes showing approval. The banking change made by the CSU Extension agent effectively granted her full control of these funds with the ability to freeze accounts and designated signature authority without the approval of the governing body. It went beyond CSU's Extension's own guidelines, allowing for only access to information, and Ms. Glowaski stated at the BOCC workshop that nonprofit funds should not be in control of only one person. Additionally, both state and federal regulations for nonprofits state that the use of nonprofit funds are to be governed by a board of unrelated individuals, not a single individual. Point number 4. The CSU Extension agent did not previously disapprove of 4-H foundation funds for non-educational purposes such as improvement of livestock pens. She brought similar issues to our foundation board for approval for a saddle club tractor repair, electrical work at the fairgrounds, and she worked with a former commissioner to potentially set aside donations for fairgrounds capital improvements through the foundation. Additionally, during the BOCC extension workshop, Mr. Noble agreed that this use of funds, while not specifically educational in nature, could be assessed either way for appropriate use of our foundation funds, and gave an example of other uses for capital purposes. Past donor groups have expressed concerns about the 4-H Foundation hoarding funds, and donors questioned why they should continue giving to the 4-H Foundation or supporting the 4-H Foundation fundraising activities. The sitting 4-H Foundation Board approved this donation to provide for the safety of 4-H youth in their activities, to facilitate goodwill within the community, and to provide a lasting, visible contribution from the 4-H Foundation to enhance its public persona. Additionally, the statement made at the BOCC workshop that the donation used half of the funds was not inaccurate. The 4-H Foundation knew there were 2 outstanding donations to be received. The Wet Mountain Valley Cattle Women of over $3,000, the Wet Mountain Valley Community Foundation of over $3,000, and the Cattle Women's 2016 A Painted View Dinner estimated to be around $2,000. Each board is required to retain $1,000 per the CXU Extension Charter and Guidelines. The incoming board would still have $10,000. Point number 5, the CSU Extension agent removing the sitting vice president from her position on the foundation board without due process. While Ms. Golowski stated these rules do not apply, the 4-H Foundation is still a registered nonprofit organization with the state of Colorado. Treatment of volunteers is provided in the previously linked CSU handbook, and due process is included in the Colorado state statutes for nonprofit organizations. She quotes them and then she highlights, I'll just read that portion. Not less than 15 days prior written notice of expulsion, suspension, or termination, and the reasons therefore, and an opportunity for the member to be heard orally or in writing, not less than 5 days before the effective date of expulsion. Point number 6, the result of this clandestine takeover of the CSU Extension agent is that funds donated by county residents and organizations were removed from county level control and given to a single state appointed person. Many donate locally for local control to benefit the welfare of local citizens and groups. Each county has its own personality and features. Custer County's is agricultural with a livestock focus. Those interested in furthering future generations' pursuits of these endeavors donate to local activities supporting this focus. The CSU Extension agent harmed the reputation of the 4-H Foundation as a locally governed organization and damaged the faith of donors that funds would be used for these purposes. as was expressed by some during the BOCC workshop. Point number 7, the Custer County 2017 budget allocated over $99,000 to the CSU extension agent with a separate budget line item for weed control, and the county provides office space. This partnership with CSU was the basis for the BOCC having the authority to request a change in the CSU extension agent. The BOCC could be aware of other issues with the outgoing CSU extension agent. Commissioner Ketnick remarked to Mr. Noble at the end of the BOCC workshop that he appreciated his support in the past couple of years in dealing with extension issues. Again, these issues may fall under a privacy rule and cannot be disclosed to the BOCC. It would seem reasonable for the BOCC and the attorney to review the events leading to the CSU extension agent's takeover of the 4-H Foundation and its funds to determine if this was done with the notification of options and the approval of the Foundation Board at the time. If the BOCC desires local governance of the Foundation Board, the Custer County 4-H Foundation could pursue its 501(c) status with the IRS, file its own annual postcard, Form 990, and enter into an MOU with the Colorado 4-H Foundation for use of its names, emblems, etc., agreeing to provide annual reporting to the Colorado 4-H Foundation, but not grant CSU control. Alternately, donors will likely look for other local youth-oriented organizations to support to retain control with the local board. In all regards, it's a sad course of events for our community, and especially for our 4-H youth who innocently got caught up in this drama. I hope this has helped to clarify and provide additional facts for those who wonder what in the world is happening. Respectfully, Cheryl Larimore, rural Custer County.
Okay. Anybody else? Nobody else for the first time around? Okay, cool.
As the current president of what is now 4-H, Custer County 4-H Council, everyone is welcome to start their own 501c3 and do whatever they want. The council has to do what is authorized by CSU. The extension agent has control over that. We all know that. We're not going to go over that. Whether that check could have been written if it was earmarked in the correct way, and nobody would have a problem with that. If I had not taken the action that I did and just let it go, then the next action that I would have taken was to have everyone on that foundation under charges for manipulation of nonprofit funds. I did not do that. I simply did the right thing underneath the regulations that I knew, which are correct. That's where we are.
Well, the purpose of this is not to assess or to have make a decision or a judgment. This is just an opportunity for citizens to have input.
Yes, sir, I understand that.
And I hope we've achieved that.
My question is, how does the board remove Robin, who is not an employee of the board, for a personnel matter?
We did not remove her. It was done by CSU. We have no authority. I think everybody needs to realize that. And when Clint said our decisions, he meant our concerns are what we have. And you recognize, Clint, that we do not, as a county board of commissioners, have any authority over the hiring or the firing of the county agent. Is that?
That's correct. On the county commissioner's website, there's a copy of a letter that was sent to the president of Colorado State University, Dr. Anthony Frank, and it says that the commissioners had concerns and had lost confidence in Robin Young. It did not go into specifics, but the decision was Dr. Frank's. And she hasn't been fired. She is still a state employee. They're looking for another position for her in the state.
And if there's nothing else, would you like to say anything, those of you who have not spoke that are here? Okay, quickly.
One quick comment. As a citizen, and I know a lot of our county funds and our taxpayer money goes into her budget in the extension office, and I would like to see if the county could do an audit on her office from the past few years. I don't think that's been done, and I think as citizens, as a citizen, I would like to request that if the county could.
I'm going to ask Donna maybe to respond to that, but every item we have in our county budget each year undergoes an audit by an outside firm.
We can't touch her budget, though. Are you requesting the extension agent's budget? Yeah, we have never done that.
the auditors don't look at what we spent from county funds into her budget?
We audit the extension department. So.
What we're responsible as far as her budget is
Correct.
concerned,
That's
but not CSU's money that's allocated to her, correct?
CSU basically, and I can't go far, but CSU basically provides, I think it's 3/4 of the extension agent's salary. It's a high percentage which comes from state and federal funds. And then the county pays a portion of the extension agent's salary, or extension agent's salaries. In addition to that, we have an obligation and responsibility to provide office space, to provide supplies, to provide travel monies, and to, one other one, secretarial, assistant, administrative assistants. And those funds, I think, have been audited as county expenditures, and we do that on an annual basis by law. And from the CSU side, if Robin's getting some grants, or the extension office is receiving grants and so forth, unless they come through the county, that would be a CSU and the grant, the university agreement with the company funding the grant.
Well, in 93 or 94, the extension fund that is separate from what the county does was audited by CSU. CSU actually sent in an auditor to audit it.
In 93 or 94.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Well, is there a way we could request CSU to audit?
You know, at that time, the commissioners requested it. They requested an audit from CSU.
I don't think now is the appropriate time but we are going to have this as an agenda item at the end of the month, and I would invite all of you, please, to come back at that time. In the meantime, I hope you can understand there's two sides to the story. Understand that today were people making their responses, as yesterday were people making their responses. John?
I'm sure the commissioners will say the same thing, but as a citizen, I want to thank everyone for attending to voice their side of the story and their concerns. It's always nice to hear both sides of the story, and simply I wish people would get more involved in more things in the county. So thank you everyone for your participation.
Are there any other comments? Please, let's get the copy of those letters. Please, some of you may be running off, but please, I promised that we would have them. And Kelly, we can, Donna, we can scan these in, I think, on our website. That makes sense to you?
I know both papers have some of these already because of the quorum request. I don't know that you want those on the website. They're already going to be.
That's what I mean, that we attach. Okay, please, any? If not, we need to move along. I want to thank those of you who were here this morning, and I apologize for the delay of those of you who were here and have had to wait. But at this time, if there be nothing else, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, and that is the approval of minutes.
There are none.
We have no minutes at this time to approve. The next item on the agenda will be commissioner items. Do we have any commissioner items that we wish to report?
None at this time.
Yesterday we had a workshop on the payment in lieu of taxes funds which come to us from the federal government. Looking at what we might be able to use some of those monies for. The primary thing we can use those monies for are for fire mitigation, fire-wise education, things you can do around your individual homes to potentially protect them. We spent a couple hours yesterday going through it, and we got all said and done. We decided we didn't know a whole lot more than when we started, but we do have some procedures. We do have some projects on the board. One of them is a big project over here on the San Francisco's, looking at doing something in the Wetmore area and maybe doing something in some other places. But this time we're just trying to finalize and get through that. One other thing I would like to make a comment on, and as general information for the public, and I'll go fairly slow, Jackie, so you can write these down. I want you to realize that when we hire a road supervisor, that person is essentially an executive officer. The road supervisor, with our oversight, but has the actual day-to-day control of $2,078,797. That's over a $2 million budget. So it's important that we have people who have expertise in business, in management, in planning. Part of this is planning for the future, planning for replacement equipment and so forth. I was surprised. I went out and spent some time looking and talking about the equipment. 5 of our 8 motor graders are 22 to 30 years old. 3 of our 5 loaders are 30 to 45 years old. We have 2 new trucks, but 7 of the 13 trucks are 18 to 36 years old. 4 of our 6 trailers are 20 to 38 years old. The only reason that these are still on the road is because of the outstanding job that the mechanic crews have done over there to keep these running. But I think all of you can appreciate if you have something that's, we got some of these graders that have 20,000 hours on them. I would not feel real comfortable running down the road in them. Well, let's see, this is 17, so 30 years ago it would have been about 87. I wouldn't, I don't know if I got a piece of equipment that I would use on a daily basis that I bought in 1987. It would be wore out. But I just wanted to show you a little bit of where we are. We need to do some longer term planning for equipment replacement. Equipment is very expensive. A motor grader will cost us, I've been told, over $350,000. We bought a semi-tractor that we had to have. It was over $100,000. So part of the responsibilities of the road boss is to manage this $2 million budget and then to move forward. So maybe that can explain a little bit what we were looking for in a road boss. Not surprised my colleagues, they didn't know I was going to say anything about this today. But I think it's important for you folks to kind of see. Okay? Next item of business we have are attorney items.
None today.
All right, thank you. Is there any reason for an executive session?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This time, let's move into new and old business, and I would like to invite our guests with the Early Childhood Council to come forward, please. Please bring your chair with you if you want to.
Jessica, you can have the big chair. Go ahead. I got my coat. Thanks. Thank you for giving us the time.
It's great to have you
again.
Welcome.
Jessica.
Well, at the end of January, Laura Lockhart came to you and gave you kind of the overview of the Early Childhood Council. And what we were hoping to do, what I thought I'd do today, along with Jessica adding in, is give you a very brief update on our progress in forming an Early Childhood Council for Custer County, tell you how the county can help make that happen, and then really just answer any questions you have, because I'm sure you have a few. So at this point, we've been working on, there's really 2 phases of the project. One is to submit an application to the Colorado Office of Early Childhood, which would then certify and recognize our Early Childhood Council. Although it's not really a reason to form one. Going into this year, there's only 6 counties in the state that do not have an Early Childhood Council or are members of a multi-county organization. From my correspondence with Stacy Kennedy, who's the head of the Office of Early Childhood, if we don't form one, we will be the only county in the state not to have an Early Childhood Council. The goal of the council is really a coordination role to really bring all of the different organizations, private, governmental, and nonprofit, that work with early childhood, which is now redefined as ages 0 to 8. It was previously 0 to 5. And we would look for a part-time coordinator. There has to be a coordinator, and they have to be an employee of the fiscal agent for the state to recognize the Early Childhood Council.
Are they a certified early childhood education teacher?
No, it's a coordination position, so it does not need to be. So there's a couple of steps. First, there has to be a convening entity. I'm going to give you some of the jargon to actually pull together and submit the application. And then there has to be a fiscal agent that will handle, obviously, the finances of the council and the money that would come from the state. We're looking at funding from two sources. One would be the State Office of Early Childhood has an allocation formula that once we have a certified, recognized early childhood council, they can then submit for allocation, funding allocation from the state. This process of forming early childhood councils or reconfiguring only happens every 3 to 5 years. So if we don't do it now, I'm not sure that we can really go after any allocation funding. We can still be certified as an early childhood council, but all the funding will have to come either from foundation or local funding. So our goal is to meet the timeline, which is very tight. It's between now and sometime in April, to be able to both create the council, get it certified, which I can update you on, which is moving fairly rapidly, but then also to, in parallel, start completing the allocation paperwork to be able to request that funding from the state.
What is the level of state funding you might expect?
For the first 3 years, and I'm confirming this with Stacy Kennedy, the director, they have a base minimum funding for a new early childhood council, which is $15,000. And my understanding...
That's $15,000 for 3 years, or is it $15,000?
$15,000 a year for up to 3 years is my understanding from... I've sat in on a webinar, Jessica sat in on the webinar. I'm getting confirmation from that from Stacy. But that is what we have been told to this point. We also have submitted a grant for additional funding, and we have 2 additional foundations that we will go to during this next year to look for supplemental funding for year 2 and 3. There are several foundations in the state, particularly the Buell Foundation and El Pomar, that have been extremely supportive of early childhood councils, and El Pomar knows of our current plight, and in fact they have given Excellence in Ed some significant funding to deal with early childhood preschool, kind of a gap there with our preschool. So El Pomar is aware of our situation, and we've been put in contact through El Pomar to the Buell Foundation. I have contacts at the Anschutz Family Foundation, and of course we have our own High Mountain Hay Fever early childhood or children's health fund that we will be we have actually put in an application for funding through that foundation.
So how much funding annually, do you have any idea, which you're going to need to operate?
I have done a budget count when we put together a board, which quite frankly we hope to have put together tonight. Jessica's done a tremendous job bringing together most of the stakeholders in early childhood. She actually did this months ago, which really underscored the need for a council. But we've got a group meeting tonight, and we hope to walk away with a board in place with their MOUs. Every board member must sign an MOU that makes their commitment of attending at least 75% of the board meetings. There are also 7 required types of organizations that must be board members. It's a minimum of 10 board members, and then it can go to whatever size you want, but it's a minimum of 10 board members.
Do we have all 7 required entities in the county?
We think we'll have them all there tonight.
I think we will, yes.
So, for instance, Laura Lockhart or someone from Human Services must be on the board. Someone from Public Health must be on the board. I'm trying to think of the others. Mental Health, I know, is one of them. And Solvista has been contacted, and they'll be represented this evening.
And we do not have a current director for Public Health.
No, and you don't have to. There has to be, when we turn in the application, there has to be an interim director named, but they don't expect you to necessarily have someone hired before the funding allocation is there. We do already have a draft job description in place.
No. Our county public health position. The director is currently vacant right now.
Yes, and we're hoping that Beth Green will serve in that role until you have a new person in place. And actually, Gail was one of the ones that brought this up as a tremendous need in the county, and she would be involved if she hadn't left our community.
So, just kind of catch up on the background work that I've done with the county. There are 2 entities that need to be involved. One's called a convening entity, and then there's a funding entity. The convening entity is the organization that does most of the paperwork. And please correct me if I'm not saying this correctly.
Fiscal rather than funding.
Okay. Well, the convening entity fills out paperwork. Okay, and then there's a funding entity. Okay. I have spoken with Laura, with Beth, and about the need in the county. They are very excited about it. Laura said she'd been involved, wanted to be involved in this for quite a while. I spoke to Donna Hobby about how this would work financially with our organization if we were the financial entity. Since it's not coming out of a budget, the person that would be hired would actually be a county employee. However, the money would come in, it would pass through our payroll system, and please jump on in if I'm saying something incorrectly, okay, would come through our system. There are no benefits because it's a part-time position, but there may be some expenses, travel or something like that. My understanding was this would not be a major incident for you. It would be something real easy to do. So when you read the actual state statutes that formed this, when Hickenlooper signed it, our governor, even though there are other entities that could do this, it was a county effort. Laura Lockhart estimated to me when I asked, she said there's probably around 100 to 120 children that are 0 to 8 years old. That would include all of the children, not just the ones who go to our school, and Mennonite and Amish children also, who could partake of this. So it appears to me that it's an appropriate, it would be appropriate for the county to be the funding entity, since it's an absolute necessity for us to have this, in my opinion, for the kids. It's not an additional burden, and all of our health professionals are completely on board with this. So I just wanted to bring up that I've done the background work on it, and I really appreciate Butch and Jessica pushing this thing, because it's a great thing for our kids. If you read the ordinances, you'll see what I'm talking about.
How do you get the word out to the people that aren't in the school?
You know, you mean in terms of like the Amish community?
Right.
You know, I'm not sure other than through public health. Gail Stoltzfus had a really strong relationship, I believe, with the Amish community. So the public health division within the county has some of that established, and I would love to see someone from the Amish community actually on the board, but we haven't been able to reach out there yet. But we can continue to involve.
And I actually deal, as the youth services librarian at the county library, I actually deal a lot with the Amish and Mennonite community. And I do have a homeschool email list that we send out anything that we find out about that's applicable to them. And so we do have that communication that way.
And I offered to Laura yesterday that I have a contact that I'll get to her.
Perfect. And we can continue to add board members for that kind of representation. But Donna, you hit the nail on the head. The whole purpose of this council is communication. I will say that this was all Jessica's work, and I was kind of working with Gail on a different matter on the Early Childhood Council, and I found out that Jessica, through her role as the youth coordinator, was bringing together all these early childhood people to get some input for where the direction the library should take. And we were invited at the last minute, and it was stunning. These were all incredibly dedicated individuals in their organizations, but you should have seen them taking notes like, I didn't know you were doing that. I got to tell my kids about that. And that is part of what's been missing. And I think one of the most impressive ones was Terry Island from the preschool was saying, 14 years ago, we did this. We did a lot of these things of coordination, but over time there's been no one to drive it. And so we've lost touch with each other, and there's not been any coordination.
So I'm going to ask, what are you looking for as the makeup of your board members?
Well, there's the 7 that are required. This is the state does us a real good job of defining it for us, actually. Do you have it right there? I have it. So the 7 required board members.
It's early care and education, family support and parent education services, health care, local government, parent of child 5 years of age or younger, mental health care, resource and referral agency, and then those are the 7 required. And then they also suggest medical practices, Head Start, Chamber of Commerce, nonprofits, library.
Local businesses,
Yes.
higher ed, we've got a lot of that here.
Do you work in tangent with our Upper Arkansas COG?
That hasn't come up at this point. I don't know. It's easy enough for us to ask Pam Walker in Fremont County what they do. We've been in really close contact. So all of these questions done, and we got some great resources. In fact, we're having lunch with Angela Shehorn, who runs the Pueblo County Early Childhood Education Group. We're meeting with her on Friday. But unfortunately, the first thing we did was look at joining one of the others. And unfortunately, Chaffee and Pueblo said no. And in the bylaws for Fremont, they're not allowed to, they are by definition a single county only because of the way their childhood council is embedded in other government agencies in the same building that COG works out of.
Okay.
So we haven't gone down that path. I think Angela Shehorn will remain a really important support component for whoever takes over this coordinator job in the council. She comes here every month for our interagency meeting, which is while she'll be here on Friday.
Do you see a department this would be housed in?
Well, it's going to be their department.
Yeah.
They're running it. We just have the employee will be working for your organization. Is that correct?
This person would report to the board of the council.
Right.
So let me tell you what.
Just the money in, the money out person.
Let me quickly go over what we actually need from the county to make this happen. First of all, technically the county needs to recognize whomever will be the convening entity. We've been working on that. We have two possibles. One, we can't know until Friday. We've approached the West Custer County Library. And we think they may say yes, but we don't know for sure until Friday. And then we're going in front of the school board on Tuesday. What we would like to ask today is that you provisionally authorize either one of those if they say yes, just so that we can keep moving and not have to wait till the 21st. If it's not one of those two, then we would have to wait and come back to you at your next meeting on March 21st to get you to agree to designate a different one, different organization to act as the convening entity. Once the application is submitted and approved, then the convening entity really doesn't have anything to do. They have to approve the board members, but that will happen before we ever send the formal application into the Office of Early Childhood.
But are you also asking that the county be the financing agency?
Yes.
So what you are hoping today, if I'm just trying to understand
Sure.
the words you know, for us to approve that the county would be the financing entity and approve either the school or the library as the convening entity once you determine which one it is. Is that what you're asking us
Yes. Yes. I was getting to fiscal next. We need a fiscal agent, and it's a new rule change this year, and my guess is they used to have a lot of contractors in this position, and my guess the IRS didn't like what was happening. They're strict contractor rules. So from now on, the coordinator must be an employee of the fiscal agent.
Okay.
However, that person would be hired and go through the hiring process through the council.
Yes.
with just the money in, money out?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Okay, and then I have quite a few questions, and where would the coordinator be housed at?
At this point, they would probably work out of their home.
Okay, because the insurance, to make
Yep.
sure that if we're paying that workman's comp and all of that is covered. So that will be a question I have to do. It's not 100% funding. Would this begin now where the commissioners have not budgeted for this year? Or would we know an amount for 2018 that they would budget for in 2017? That's just another question. If the money flow dries up, if there are no grants, then what kind of money is the county looking at? I mean, could we get the school to put in? Could we get human services, someone else to backfill, if that were to happen? And let's say the program was not a hit, which it's absolutely needed. But let's say it wasn't utilized, and so then we've had to let go of an employee. Can we have some sort of contract where we wouldn't be paying unemployment on that? anyway, those were just some things that I wanted.
Addressing the funding, the state allocation, as long as you are a fully functioning council, you have to maintain your 7 stakeholders and your 10 minimum people on the council, and you have to have a strategic plan for 5 years out that's on record with the state, and you have to have not mismanaged any of your funds from the previous years. But those are essentially, there are 3 requirements for getting the state allocation. So as long as we are upholding that, the $15,000 should be a done deal from the state. And that money would go to pay the coordinator. And so the county wouldn't have any expenses as far as that is concerned. But
Yeah, I think the toughest question, and I don't have an answer for you because it's more legal, and what we would put in the job description is, if the job goes away, what is the liability in terms of unemployment?
Right, because we wouldn't be getting that grant money or that guaranteed money, so it would actually cost.
But we might be able to do something where we give the county money that they would put in a reserve fund to be able to cover that if that's a concern, and I can understand how it would be. So my hope is that we have no more than 2 funding sources a year, because from what I've read, and again, these are some of the conversations hopefully we'll have on Friday with Angela Shehorn, the idea is that the funding that we bring in for the Early Childhood Council should really be earmarked just for the operation of that council. If other funds come in, what the hope would be is that this council would work together to bring these organizations to collaborate and go out for funding that would go directly to those organizations, not pass through the council and the county, because we don't want to increase your burden.
Well, and it would be housed in the general fund, and we actually have one. It was the kids club at one point. So we have we have all the accounts. It would just be a name change and just change it on the revenue side as well. So it'd be, the tracking would be virtually like a name change. I mean, it would be nothing, but just to ensure, because when the kids club did not work out and the TANF funds dried up, I had 4 employees, and boy, the unemployment and the fight that I had, because they were just contract employees for that, and so it was sort of a bummer.
Yep. And so I'll try to get, could you do me a favor and email all your questions to me, and then I will, get answers for you either from Stacy Kennedy in Denver or from Janine Pryor in Chaffee or Angela Shehorn in Pueblo. I will say, just so I don't want to make our neighbor counties look bad, Angela and Janine very much wanted us to come into their county organizations, but their boards said no. And I'm sure they look at us, we've never had an early childhood council, they're kind of strained to do what they're trying to do, and I'm sure they just, were protecting their investment in Janine and Angela, so that they wouldn't be stretched too thin trying to come up and get us started.
The problem I'm having right now is what's going to be the financial liability to the county, because I see where if you have some shortfalls, the county may be liable.
I would say let's set this up so that there isn't a liability, so that if the funding isn't there, first of all, if we don't get the state funding, this goes away. We will keep an informal group going, because I'm not going to give up on everything that we've put time and effort to. But we need to get the state funding, and we need to get some supplemental foundation funding. We will know that, I think, in terms of the supplemental funding by the end of the month.
And you've already secured funding for the interim before we establish
and we haven't
council.
Gotten to that one yet, but yes.
Another concern I have then, you will be a recognized governmental entity?
No.
Because when a lot of our grant funds require that we have a governmental entity as the pass-through or as the responsible partner for the grant monies. You see where I'm coming from?
Kind of. Not exactly. So
okay,
if
we get a grant from DOLA, as an example,
sure,
Department of Local Affairs. Okay, we've had some grants come in to the Economic Development Council for broadband work. Okay, but we have to be the sponsoring entity to pass it through our funding, our accounting system onto the people providing the services. And I don't know how that will impact, but I could see potentially, depending on where your funding sources are coming from, I could see where some of this might be the case.
Well, at this point, the only funding sources I see are one from the state, through the Office of, excuse me, getting dry, Early Childhood, and the second one would be from a 501c3 nonprofit foundation like El Pomar or the our own community foundation or Buell Foundation, one of those. And those would come directly to the county to go in to fund the council.
But they're pass-through funds. With the El Pomar funds that we have for the Wetmore Community Center, for example, those are pass-through funds. They come to the county, and then we use those for the project. But they are a pass-through fund through a governmental entity. I don't know where I'm going with it. Those are questions that I have. Maybe you got.
Well, if I read the statute correctly, and I may not have, you're exactly right. This is what it would be. The funds would come to the county, earmarked for early childhood council, and we could only use it for that, but it would come as a county income and a county outflow.
I just have a question, because I don't know, you're asking us to authorize the school board, which has its own district, and the library, which has its own district, and I don't know that we're allowed to.
We're not. They're
legally.
They're independent
We can't
districts.
authorize them to do something.
Right. We have nothing to do with that. All we can do from a county standpoint is be the fiscal agent. But because we're the fiscal agent and this person is technically employed by the county, we have the authority to approve whoever they recommend as the convening entity. So we have no authority to say yes or no to either of those two entities, but we can authorize it. If you came to us and said this is going to be our convening entity, we could say we accept that. I believe that's the way that works.
And you could say, no, we don't accept them. So in the email or the document that I sent out by email, it gives the very basic 4 areas that the fiscal entity is responsible for. And as I've said, at this point, I had the bottom of page 2 there. I had an interview with Jeff Donlin, who was the person that acted as the fiscal agent through the library, Chaffee County Library, when they started the Chaffee County program, and he remained, I think he just handed it off, but he has been the fiscal agent through that whole process. And I asked him about the rules, and he said, yeah, they're really straightforward. It's money in, money out, and you will have some expenses for travel for the person, so there will be some travel expenses that have to be reimbursed. And he said, he said the place to be careful is if you go out and look for other government or federal funding in addition to the state funding, which we have absolutely no intention of. And if we could always put that in the MOU, that the council will not seek federal funding without the approval of the county commissioners. So there has to be an MOU created. I've got a couple of samples. There has to be an MOU between the fiscal agent and the council that has to be part of that initial paperwork. So if you agree to be the fiscal agent, then the next step would be to either we could create an MOU or we can give you the samples and you could create it if you want to make sure exactly what's in it. And then hopefully that could be approved at your March 21st meeting. And then we would have the fiscal agent and MOU in place to move forward with the application. If all goes well, we might be able to get the application in just days after that March 21st meeting. And we do have to get the application in. Stacy tells me they can turn around their approval of our application very quickly, and then we can go for the allocation funding. And we're going to go ahead and start on the allocation paperwork probably Friday with Angela Shehorn, so that that's moving in parallel with our application process.
It says here that the convening entity must be approved by the county commissioners and submit an application to the state. That's the convening entity that's
puts the application in, correct. And so what we would like is for you to say, today, yes, if it's the library or the school board, we would approve them as convening entities. If it's not one of those two, then I would never expect you to just do that. We would have to come back to you on March 21st at your other board meeting and say, neither of those worked out. Here is another group that has agreed to be the convening entity if you recognize or approve them.
And I just don't know how quickly you can turn around the answers that she's requesting. Donna.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to do it pretty quickly.
Okay.
So,
Now here's another one. It says a fiscal entity to handle the funds designated for the ECC and to pay bills and expenses of the ECC. So that means that the billing would come to the county.
Correct.
mm-hmm.
In my understanding, the coordinator would do all of their own work, and they would, deposit the money and voucher their own thing, and so, for me, that's no effort at all, just a little data entry, and so that's a win-win as well.
And again, to your point, Donna, too, anything that is a concern, we can put in the MOU and spell it out right in the MOU so that it's very clear what the responsibilities of the coordinator and the council. My vision for this, and I will be only one board member, would be to have a steering committee of 3 or 4 people. If we're going to have a board of 10 or 12, we really don't want this poor coordinator trying to have to go to the board for every little decision. So hopefully there'll be a steering committee that can really work closely and understand that MOU and meet with you to make sure we're doing everything correctly on the financial side.
I came here this morning hoping that we would approve this, but I do have concerns at this point because, Donna, your questions, should we get answers to those before we approve this?
I need some more answers.
We should.
I feel real good about it, and I know it's something that we need. I just, I know that you guys will make the right decision, that we've just not put ourselves where we're in the hole.
And as fiscal agent, I would love your commitment to not commitment, but to know that if the MOU is solid and we answer your questions, you think you would fill that role. And I would not expect you to make the commitment until you have an MOU in front of you to make a final decision, which would be on the 21st.
So what you're really asking us for today is not for us to make a motion, pass it, and become the fiscal agent. You're asking us to give you a concurrence that if we could work out the questions that are still out there, at that point, once we were feeling acceptable with all that, then we would be the agent. Is that kind of what you're asking for?
Yeah. Until you have an MOU in front of you,
we have to have an MOU
before
we can go on.
So,
And then also, when can that happen by? Because we're under such strict deadlines. Does it have to be another formal Board of County Commissioner meeting? Or can it be...
Has to be a formal meeting.
It has to be
So
formal,
it'll be-
but you could forward that to all 3 of us so we can review it.
I guess the question is, do you want to create the MOU based on some of the others and some of the questions that you have? Do you want us to try to do that? I'm afraid if we create it, you're going to have lots and lots of changes, but it's up to the board and Clint, obviously.
Well, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want to see what you've got. I mean, you've got to send it to everybody and we can look at it and modify it however we want.
Great.
Okay.
And I'll send you that by the end of the day. You'll have it tomorrow morning.
Let me ask a question. Does the county have to be the fiscal agent?
No.
I mean, because it can be, the library district and the school district are both political subdivisions of the state of Colorado, the same as the county commissioner. Yeah, county is. I'm just wondering, do you need to go through the county? Would it be easier to go through the library district or the school if they wanted to handle it?
The library doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, the board of the library, this is so far outside of their normal, what they do. And they have concerns about, having to have another employee and what that means to the library. The community foundation just doesn't employ people. I certainly took it to the community foundation first, but I think when we found out about the rule change of it having to be an employee, the community foundation doesn't employ anyone. And often it is a nonprofit, but quite frankly, we don't have that many nonprofits that have paid staff. And then we also thought that this is really, to me, it kind of falls to the county and the school board. I mean, you benefit from it significantly. The county does in terms of hopefully lower some healthcare costs in the development of our youth, as would the school board. But if you look at the school, they don't really deal with ages 0 to 5. It's really public health and the clinic and human services deal with ages 0 to 5, which is why we think it kind of belongs with the county.
The statutes talk county. Everything in there is the county shall. So, I mean, I think when it was originally, it came into inception, it was conceived of as a county responsibility. Now, whether it doesn't have to be.
No, but from day one.
The way it was written.
Jay, from day one, everyone I've spoken to at the state and every webinar and everything I've looked at is, the county commissioners don't sign off this, it doesn't happen. So when the application is complete, which, the basics of the application aren't that complex, what has to be there is also a set of bylaws, which we're working on. It has to have the board members, and they have to meet the requirements laid out in the rules for those different types of board members. And then when the application is ready to go in, it has to be signed by the chair of the county commissioners, the chair of the school board, and the chair of the convening entity, which would be Amy Moulton at the library. And those are the 3 signatures that must accompany the application.
And the legal signatory for the counties, which I'm assuming would be
Got a question?
correct.
Yeah.
The legal signatory.
You got to wave at me, Donna. Sometimes I get focused over here.
And, if something were to change, like Clint asked if it would be the county, what if it were the clinic or the school? And we did as we do now with the health nurse, that we just give money to that for them to pay the salaries, and it's goes through them as well. If that was an option, if somebody wanted, because we have that MOU for Carmeline as the school nurse, and then she's not our employee, she is a school's employee, and we give some of the EPR money to that as well. Just another.
I see 2 places, and maybe I'm missing it, that this fits under, maybe from oversight from the county. Somebody's got to represent us. We're not going to be there at all your meetings and so forth. But I see they're under the social, under Laura, or under the county health department.
See, and I thought human services, because I was hoping that we could get some of the rebate back that Laura had said, because it's at 2080 a lot of times, and that would have made our money go further, but apparently that we can't do that. Because that would have been having our cake and eating it too on that. The current place where we have, we could always put it through the health department, but actually we would name it, childhood council.
Right, no, I mean, just...
But, just thinking outside the box, if the county wasn't going to do that we had worked around that for the school nurse, that they really only were willing to do part, that we helped out on that part.
I think we need to have the documentation.
Sure.
MOU, and I still need an answer on what kind of liability the county might end up with in a worst case scenario.
Oh, that was one more. Let's say this grows so hugely and the person cannot do it from their home. Do you have any place where, like the clinic, we could get an MOU where the clinic would let them use a room 1 day a week or something along that line? Let's say our coordinator's 25 miles out of town and it's hard, is that, something for the future, or that it's, because there are a lot of children and this is awesome. But what if in the winter they needed someplace in town or just another little thing to look at?
Well, I can't predict the future, but if it grew that much, that we were, that having a positive impact on the community was supporting us, and we were growing, I think at that point we would have organizations that would probably step up to provide that office, and my first thought being probably the school, but also at that point too, it's possible that the council could provide an actual office, could rent a space and provide an office if it had grown to that point. That is an option.
Okay, because I am
Donna,
not concerned on the insurance, but I am not sure what the insurance will do with small children at a residence. I'm not sure what it's going going to
I
take
don't
on
see the coordinator having anything to do with direct contact with the children. They're coordinating the organizations that would have the contact with those children.
just
So-
that would
What
be-
could happen is a family could move into the valley and want to know, okay, what resources are available to me? And the coordinator would be a point of contact for that person to be able, to meet with them and say, if you need help with healthcare, if you need, daycare, if you need, this, these are the resources that are available. But at that point, it would be more a meeting with the parents than trying to manage small children.
And you bring up a good point. We may this may be something we talk about tonight when we're having our meeting, whether there's anyone that does have office space that they would, any of the organizations that might want to offer up some part-time office space. This is definitely a part-time position. This is not, So-
Which I have a question that I'm going to ask Donna, a phone call to make to CTSI, because if you're saying that we're the last county to come on board, then that means that there is records before us, and they could probably answer those questions with regards to insurance.
And Jeff Donovan's ready to take a call. So if you
Yeah, I
need-
just wanted to make sure that I had all the facts so that when I asked the insurance company and they say, we had a veteran service officer that worked out of a different building that was not owned by us, and they actually had to pay us rent to insure the insurance on that. And so we just want to make sure that we're all perfect.
And there's another factor in that same thing she mentioned, the veteran service. We had it located over in a private home and had very little, you're not anticipating that much interaction with the general public. But after we moved it over here into a county position, the activity has probably tripled or quadrupled. And I recognize that a lot of the services you're offering are going to be coming from other agencies, but this coordinator will have to be meeting with those agencies, will have to have contact, will have to do something to maintain the fiscal control. So again, looking at from an office standpoint, I don't know, we don't have any place here, and maybe, I don't know what we're going to do with that, but I mean, it's something that I've got, questions about it being in a home, and then accessibility of someone coming to it.
Then let us talk to some folks tonight and see if we can find a part-time office space. I have one in mind, but I have to double check.
Yes, ma'am.
Sol Vista is at the clinic right now. They have an office space there, but they are leaving to have their own building. So I'm not sure if the hospital district has plans for that space or if it'll be available.
Great.
Okay. We can definitely talk to Beth about that.
Hang on, Bob, I just threw it in your court.
Sooner or later.
Okay, any,
No, we'll just wait for questions to be answered, and if we could get a copy of the MOU that we could look at before the 21st.
And so, Clint, is it best to work through you? I can certainly get everyone the sample MOUs. We also have Jeff Donlin is a willing resource to talk about the fiscal, what he has done as fiscal agent, what those liabilities and
The MOU
ramifications.
should go to Brenda as the administrative
Okay.
assistant.
Great.
She'll distribute it to all of us.
Great, Brenda, I'll get it to you today.
and then questions we have on the fiscal side, we'll need to go through you or through Donna? Go through Donna?
I would have it go through Donna because she's going to have those answers.
Is that okay?
Perfect.
Great. And then I guess the one thing I would ask if you'd consider today is going ahead and recognizing or approving either the library or the school as the convening entity, as long as they accept that responsibility.
If we authorize it with a convening entity, I think by action that we have already accepted the program.
No, not as fiscal
Just a
agent.
minute.
Okay.
You can do this as a conditional action by motion that if in fact either one of those outfits are willing to serve as the convening agency, then you are interested in going forward with this as the fiscal agent, but not committing to it. It would just be.
Does that make sense
Oh,
to you?
absolutely.
I just want to keep us where we're.
That's fine, but just so they have something they can take to their meeting tonight and say, yes, the county has said that if one of them is willing to be the convening entity, that the Board of County Commissioners is interested in pursuing this as the fiscal entity.
Will that work for you?
Yes, absolutely.
Do I hear that motion?
I move that we accept either the library or the Custer County School as the convening entity, conditionally based upon whether we as the county choose to move forward or not as the fiscal agent. Is that sufficient, do you think?
I like it as his board is interested in pursuing.
And that's fine. I think the intent is clearly on the record that the motion, as I understand the motion, is that if they can represent us, they have a convening entity, that the county then is interested in going forward with consideration to be the fiscal agent in this.
I'll second the motion as modified and stated.
Any other discussion? I think my position on this is that, in general principles, at least in my position, I think this is a very useful program. We just need to be sure that we put it in place in the right manner so we don't create some holes or some issues that we haven't.
Unintended consequences.
Yes, sir. At this time, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Great.
Take that to the bank.
Thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry it took so long.
Nope. Had to have some of those questions.
Oh, you're not near as sorry as those people sitting in these seats at 10 o'clock.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for your kind words.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time,
Your answers for you.
we'll move on to the liquor license for the lodge at San Isabel.
Take 5 minutes.
You want a 5-minute break? I will recess this for 10 minutes, and so will your break
I'm gonna need
stretch.
a bucket.
O'clock, under new and old business, the next item will be the liquor license for the lodge at San Isabel. Kelly?
This is a renewal, and we just did one for them a few months ago. That was for their 3-2 license. This is for their hotel and restaurant license. And I got a sheriff's report, and it's all good. I have the money, and so if you guys want to look at those,
Did you see anything out of the unusual?
Nope.
What we do, folks, and Barb, already know this, but when we have to renew the liquor licenses annually, I believe. And we check with the sheriff's department, make sure there hasn't been a lot of calls or issues or problems or whatever. And then that's why we have an official report here to look at. And I see nothing negative on this report.
I move that we approve the liquor license for the lodge at St. Isabel as presented.
Okay.
I'll second the motion as stated.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Not, we'll vote. All approved, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is book preservation with Kelly Kemper.
and this is just kind of an FYI for you guys. Bob probably remembers, but you two weren't in on it. So back when Debbie was still in office, she started a project preserving some of our older books in the vault, and every year we kind of do a little bit more. And so the people that have been working on it were up the other day, and we're going to do probably about 10 or, actually it looks like we've got about 20 more books we're gonna do. And this money comes from a fund that we have set aside from money that we collect as part of our recording fees. And so this quote that they have given me is for $23,110, which the last time we did it, it was right at $24,000 also. And so I just want to give you guys a heads up so that when you see a bill coming through for that much, you
What's the
don't
fund balance?
fall out of your chair.
Okay.
What's the fund balance?
Right now we're at about 62,000.
62?
56.
Okay, that's fine.
56.
Okay.
So we have plenty.
Thank you for the update.
You're welcome. And if you want to come look and see what they're doing, you can come look. We're just, the big books, they're so old, and when people go through them, that's history, and we don't want to ruin that. And so what they're doing is they put each one of those pages in a plastic sleeve, which preserves them. And then part of the stuff we've done is we have copied all those big books. We've scanned them all so that now we're working on, they're all on the computer and they're all stored somewhere else. So if we burn down, we have them. And eventually people will be able to look at them online instead of coming in. So.
Nice.
Good project.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other action needed?
Nope.
Okay. Jason called me last night from Department of Parks and Wildlife. Because of the wind activities, their schedules were changed around. They're out tagging mule deer today, and will be on our agenda at a later time. Towards the end of the month, probably he'll call me and we'll work it out. Before I just bear with me just a second. I need to sign right here, Kelly, on the bottom.
Yes, where it says signature right at the very bottom. And then I'll fill in the rest.
I mean, wonder why I'm taking the time to do this, but we had a commissioner by the name of George Draper from Wetmore. And George had a habit of putting stuff in his briefcase and walking off with it, so he would call his wife and have her return it. Well, I've adopted that habit occasionally. So I want to be sure when we have something to sign, I get it signed and delivered so I don't carry it home and they have to call me to come back. The next item we have is a door bid, and I think you saw we had a bid for $600 and some on the door.
$650.
I looked at it this morning. The problem, and this is the door over here that we come in, that we have two problems on the door. One, the closing apparatus on the top is wore out. It's leaking oil and it's wore out. And I don't know how many thousands of people have walked through that door, but I'm sure there's more walk through that door than walk through these doors. And the second thing is that it looks to me like basically the hinges are wore so bad that with the pin that goes down through the hinge is wore to where you're getting slack on the door. And as a result, the door is sagging to where if it doesn't shut all the way, it'll hang up at the top and not close. It's a fairly heavy door. It's a metal door. And I'm sorry I haven't had time with you to show you that.
I went today and I
Okay.
saw it and discussed it with him, so
Okay.
I'm aware of it.
So, would you like to make a motion that we approve this?
Yes, I'll make the motion that we approve the expense of $650 to repair the back door entry.
I'll second that. All in favor say aye. Or is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, aye. Opposed, same bid. Motion carries. Okay, we are only an hour and 8 minutes late, but now we will move on to the airport for bids. I'm sorry, gentlemen.
It's okay, we don't move as fast as we used to.
Well, I don't move the meetings along as fast as you used to either.
Okay, where do I start? Ladies first?
Dallas.
Chairman?
I'll start H first sometime. I get to go first.
Oh, okay. Next month we'll go the other way. How does that sound? Okay.
drawings?
The written report agenda, I guess you could call it, that you got online isn't quite 100%. So, but there's not much of a change in it at all. Okay, and here is, this is just for information. Bob, I think you may have already gotten a copy of this sometime back. Like I say, that's just for information, but it has to do with the request that we're making today. Okay. And then this one has to do with one item on the report. And I've only got one copy of this and want to give it to Clint because it needs to be looked at for legal.
Is that the MOU for the model airplanes or what?
Yes. And we went through it and we finalized it to what we think is right. And so we just brought it for Clint to take a look at. Okay. We held our meeting February 16th. There's 5 members present. 1 member had to be in Fort Collins. Audience introduction. Mr. Jay Prince, Commissioner, was there with us. David Collins and Barclay Westerfield. We had no minutes to approve. Okay, fuel report. For the month of February, we sold 307.5 gallons. Quite a bit up from January, but still not too heavy. And 1,714 gallons left in the tank.
Now you bought fuel a month or so ago?
We bought fuel in, I forgot.
January, I think.
Well, it was.
As I remembered, you were getting down.
Yeah, 24th, I believe it was.
And you had enough funds to roll it through and make it work.
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, because of the airport operators meeting that we went to at our meeting last month, we talked about revisiting the procedure for the NPIAS certification from the FAA, which would turn our airport into an FAA approved airport, and a lot of benefits and stuff comes along with that. I got this letter from Linda Bruce. She is the state planner for the FAA for small airports, and she compiled this in a logical, understandable letter. All this information came out of 5 chapters of the FAA handbook, which are just multitudes of pages long. The one thing on this quest for NPIAS certification is the State Aeronautics Board has to recommend to the FAA for membership and expenditure of funds and that kind of stuff. And I highlighted one sentence on her letter, and she says there would have to be a compelling reason. Since runway 1331 does not meet all separation standards, there would have to be a compelling reason why the state would recommend a considerable investment of federal and state funds to realign the runway and bring the airport into compliance with FAA requirements. So at our meeting, I asked all our members to go through the gray matter and come up with a compelling reason
why our airport should have about $3.5 million invested in rebuilding for a new runway. Personally, myself, I haven't imagined a real compelling reason for that. I may just not have a broad enough bunch of ideas on how to approach that. So that's just for information as to why, at this point, we're not going to get into the NPIS program.
One thought that comes to my mind, and maybe it doesn't comply, but that airport is a very critical need for air ambulance, for our search and rescue base of operations. We fly helicopters in and out of there for rescues in the Crestone Needle area or long range.
And fire.
We'd also use this as an emergency response staging area for fire. It will be used by federal agencies as a staging area for firefighting. To me, though, we look at what the impact is on the community, and we have to understand why the current runway is an issue. But I'm assuming if we build a new runway at $3.5 million, it would probably be lit.
I would certainly
And
think
makes
it
then,
should be, yeah.
It makes it then an all-weather, almost all-weather airport.
Almost, yeah.
And from a search and rescue standpoint, it provides a critical link in our emergency response that that right now we have limitations on.
And it's also used to transport prisoners from one place.
Yeah, just yesterday that happened.
Did you hear about that?
No. We had a prisoner transport yesterday.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to understand. So you're saying you couldn't come up with reasons?
I could get all those ideas in my head, but I couldn't formulate how to make a coherent paragraph out of it.
Okay.
That's what I need the help with. And we'd have to convince the director of the State Aeronautics Board that, that set of reasons would be compelling enough for the expenditure of funds. So if somebody can write that, because I don't think I can, to make it...
Another thing it would add to it, by improving the airport facilities, it will enhance aerial enforcement for law enforcement. As we're doing surveillance of platforms and those types of things, it also enhances
I didn't think of that. Of course, I'm not that close to law enforcement.
It also enhances economic development of our town.
Well, I knew that. That was the first thing that I had, but I didn't know how to put it down.
A lot of people don't realize it because it's 9.8 miles south of town, but there's a lot of people come and go.
Yeah.
And we've got pictures of them coming and go.
Am I understanding that the 3.5 million would be the FAA moving that?
No. The 3.5 million is the generally accepted estimate to build a 1 mile runway on the property.
See where we are now, we're on
we have to convince them to spend their money on our runway. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was
and
getting
the problem we have, what they're doing now, basically they're landing on the taxiway.
But yeah, that's the generally accepted estimate of a mile-long runway. It's about $3.5 million. That's not including lights and that other kind of stuff.
So is there a time limit on when we need to submit this?
No. It can be submitted at any time. And I'm staying in good close contact with the Aeronautics Board and Linda herself. So they know who we are.
So would it make sense to us if I write something and then, I don't know if I could do it for the meeting Thursday, but I'll have it done as soon as possible. But would it make sense for us to go up there and talk to her?
Well,
I would love to do that rather than just mail it.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because the last sentence on this thing said I'd suggest arranging a meeting with officials from Custer County, CDOT, and the Denver ADO so we can go over the requirements and obligations of being a sponsor of a federally obligated airport.
I'll get something to you ASAP, and then we'll work it through.
Yeah, that sentence is something that I was thinking, weeks and months down the road.
Oh no, it's getting going.
So anyway.
And as I understand this, as we're talking about, this fund is part of the Colorado Department of Transportation Division of Aeronautics program, right?
No. This money would be federal money.
Right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
The state aeronautics board has no money. They won't have any till 2020.
No, but this as we go forward, because we have requested money in the past, and that money comes from the sale of aviation fuel, because the price of the fuel is down and travel has been down, that income has dramatically dropped.
Now, the funds...
And it will be probably 2020 before we get any funding from that fund, but potentially we had funding from that fund that could supplement something on this fund.
Well, if we were to get accepted and get funded from the FAA, we would more than likely be obligated for a 10% match. And at that time, the Aeronautics Board, in this other little fund they play with, there could be some funds available there also. I wouldn't expect much, maybe $150,000 or so, but money's money.
Okay. To put it all in one thimble, the meeting that we had this last month, the NPIS, and I never could get it right.
That's close.
Robert got it right for me. This is the National to Improve Airports. As politics changes in Washington and budgets, as you well know, the appropriations for federal operations has been approved. Past president signed that in. He also, on that bill, was a new medical reform for third-class medicals and a couple of other things that didn't affect this program we're talking about, but where they catch it is the appropriations and the money that's available. Right now, there isn't any. Back in the beginning of the Obama era, the last Bush administration, there was lots of money for airports. The federal government squandered a lot of it.
Surprise.
Yeah. Really squandered a lot of it. But back in the early days, there was an airport in the Northeast that had a program for a new airport and a new terminal, and everybody said, that'll never work. It's kind of like we're going, boy, that would be something, wouldn't it? That probably won't work. And lo and behold, you go over there and look at that new terminal and that new runway and all the stuff they've got. It's amazing. And to get back to our airport, which I know more about than what I'm talking about here, is we are landing on a taxiway. It is, according to the planners, too close to the road to be a runway. But when we built it, that was the best we had. Our man that donated most of the money for match and that kind of thing, and that's where the state put it. Right now, the auspices of the state check our airport. We report to the state. They make sure we're safe. But they don't have any money, like Dallas was saying, until 2020. And that goes back to state politics, where the Joint Budget Committee, JBC, somebody finally got to them, and remember, this guy that you are going to meet, if you can get to meet the director, is appointed by the governor. Mm-hmm. So it became, finally after about 12 years of political, I'll shut up in a minute, a political thing, and the Joint Budget Committee changed, and therefore that money is used now in some other places. Instead of sharing it with us little guys, they put it in with the people that are actually raising millions and millions of dollars in tax revenue, EIA.
Centennial.
And by the way, there's only, what, 7 controlled airports with a radio tower, with a tower? 6 in the state of Colorado. So there's lots of airports like ours that do not have a control tower. A lot of them don't have people there all the time. They've got somebody like us, like...
Would we have a control tower?
No.
No, we
Good.
would never have a control
So
tower.
the point of the background is this. We can probably get, with the blessing of the state, on the national system. They give you some money each year. They also come down and drive you absolutely crazy. And I said this at our last meeting. And then they drive you absolutely nuts. What did you do with this money? How did you spend it? What are you going to do next? How are we going to do it? How come you don't have a this and how come you don't have a that? That's the buy-off plan. However, I said, but a lot of us are getting older. We'll probably never, isn't that what I said, Jake? We'll probably never see this. And Mr. Robert here says, you know what, we can leave it for the rest of the people for years later. And I said, yep, that's kind of what they did back when we used to land up here at the baseball diamond. Who would have ever known we'd have what we have now with that little tiny thing we had there with the bicycles.
It won't happen.
What I'm looking for is down the road for the future of the county.
So don't be thinking that Robert and Bob and I are going to be landing on a big old nice 150-foot wide concrete 1-mile runway. It won't happen.
Oh, now my mother's 92. You guys may still be flying there.
That's right. Well, we could be riding with some of the young guys.
Got
it. So, but anyway, that's my point is, I think we ought to look at it and think about it. I mean, even though it's kind of like, boy, that's a real dream.
Never know.
But it happened. Things like that happen.
Another tact we have for this is the Governor's Office of Economic Development is trying to push for rural development, rural initiatives.
Yeah.
And if we can tie in economic development from another governor's office
I read that. And
to this
there'll
one,
be
it would.
some changes in the state in the next 2-4 years. Who knows?
Good.
So that was my long involved. Was that too long, Ron?
Yeah, that's
Dallas,
fine.
you're good. Shut up.
Thank you.
I'll work on this. I'm going to get statements from the sheriff, search and rescue, economic development, and the hospital. I'll get statements from the directors of all those. We'll include that in there. We're going to do this upright. We'll see these people.
Check with the
Could I
force.
come and tag along with you and get some experience on how to do this kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, do whatever. I'm just going to go talk to them and say why we need the airport and let them write something else so we can get these
I
people.
think you also need to include the fire department and the Forest Service on that list because from the stand of managing fires on public lands.
Okay, good plan.
Did you say OEM, Jay?
Yeah, I did. That was first.
And really, nothing will probably move unless the commissioner does. Because they do respect what the commissioner
I'm going to do it right.
Yeah, well,
I'll work on it.
you know, my efforts are just because of a request from my buddy Bob Jolly, and to kind of set a framework for somebody in the future, because I'm not going to be on the board forever. I may not.
So are you saying
till
instead
tomorrow.
of being a leader, you're becoming a Judas goat?
No, I'm just trying to become a partial bricklayer.
Good. Let's move on then.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay. We've talked about the SAY weather system for almost a year now. Both Donna and Bob have had some information for almost a year on it. We've decided as a board that since it's a safety of flight item and that installation of it would be so simple that even Bob Jolly and I could do it. We want to make a formal request that we'd be able to use funds from the capital outlay budget under the heading of crack seal to the amount enough to cover our purchase of the system we need. We have half the system out there already. So this is a formal request to use the money from the capital outlay budget that's already budgeted to pay for this system, and the request is also for permission to order and install the system.
Just for my fellow commissioners, I've been to the airport. There's enough crack seal. Looks like the crack seal enough till the new runway comes in. Up there, there's plenty there. I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the transfer of the allocation of some crack seal money to fund the installation of the Say Weather system, purchase the system, installation, or whatever incidentals you need. It says here $2,900, so if we say up to $3,000, would we be safe?
Well, I don't know. If you'll notice the...
That's the purchase price of the system. That doesn't count
That's not the
installation,
installation.
wires, and so on.
It has a date limit on that quote.
Yeah.
It's expired.
Yeah, that quote is expired, so we'd have to go back to the company and tell them that we're ready to purchase, give us a concrete quote.
Now, this is just the new stuff you need. This doesn't include any of the stuff you currently have.
No, that's just, we only need 3 pieces that they sell of the system. It's the most expensive pieces, but because we already have the underground weather system, which is the basis of the Say Weather system. So we would be purchasing their translator box, the transceiver, the radio to transmit to the airplanes. There's a computer module that comes out of the weather box we have, and they put their module in it. And then we put up an antenna and string wire to it.
So
Motion on the floor,
Yeah,
and
right.
$3,500 will cover it.
35? Okay, then I'd say up to $3,500 reallocation of funds from the airport budget for chip seal to go into the Say Weather system, which is a significant safety issue in my opinion.
Also, if I may, I'm sorry. Sorry.
I'd like to make a motion to second what was stated.
Thank you. Now you're welcome.
Oh, okay. I talked to Donna about the funding. You would not have to transfer any funds. All we'd have to do is bill that line item.
That's fine.
Just one step this time.
Since you won't have to move it from crack seal, because we allocate money for the crack seal, we would have to move it into like the general fund to pay for this? For equipment
Donna will
purchase?
just,
We'll just let her allocate it.
it'll come out of the crack seal fund, that's how she will
Right,
quote it,
yeah.
but it will be for this equipment.
It doesn't have to
Yeah,
be transferred.
she explained it to me, and I'm not on her level of finance, but it doesn't have to be 14 steps to do it.
Oh, no, it's no big deal.
So,
I've got a real question
okay.
that I think is critical, and to add to what you are. Do we need to bring someone from the outside in to evaluate that runway?
No.
To say that it's safe, to say that we have adequately repaired those parts?
They
do
check
it
it all.
every year.
Yeah, they do it every year. It's already been done
And was this done after we sealed or before we sealed?
after. Yep.
So that runway, in
Oh,
spite of
you
what
mean
it-
this last time that was sealed? No.
No, it hasn't been inspected
No,
yet.
no. After we had it completely resealed and wall coated and repainted, it was inspected after
Right,
that.
but where I am right now is someone would come in and look at that and say, we still need to do this or this or this before we take
Well,
monies out of here to,
Well, once again, we already had the crack seal.
And it's just a matter of getting Road and Bridge to touch it up this spring.
They call it a runway index, and the surface of the runway probably won't need any seal, fog coat,
No.
they call it, for, how many years did he say? I wouldn't
I think it was 5, wasn't it?
3 to 5?
Yeah, it's a,
Because where I'm coming from, I've got it from asphalt people, that some of those cracks were fairly wide and they needed to be filled with another substance other than just a crack seal.
Right, and they should have then done,
And they should have done
this
that.
past time, I think, okay?
They didn't, it's the one they did it this last time.
They did? Okay,
Or at least that's what Roger told me.
right, okay.
Maybe you know, he's back there shaking his head.
Yeah, they just filled it in with crack seal.
Yeah.
And that's,
Filled the cracks in.
but those are repairs that we need to be sure that we take. I mean, the crack seal probably won't last too long. It's going to expand and seep down and we got to fix it again.
Right.
Yeah. It'll
Okay.
probably have to be touched up in the spring, but not to the extent that it was done last year.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just wondering, what will the weather system do? That-
It is a form of what's known as an AWOS system, Automated Weather Observation System. What it does, it takes the weather information that we're already collecting out there, and it turns it into a verbal message of the wind speed, the temperature, the humidity, wind directions, and all that kind of stuff. Barometric pressure. All the things that a pilot needs to know whether it's going to be safe to land. We get a heck of a crosswind sometimes, nobody can land there. So, and the general,
Like Monday.
the general
Is it good?
reception distance on that is
It's
up to
not on our
25
phone.
miles.
No.
So we'd easily put our signal right to the edges of the valley with no problem. In fact, probably down to Walsenburg, in fact. So that's the idea of the thing.
And, how often is the airport used for critical operations, like search and rescue and to fight fires?
Whenever it's needed and they deem that they need it.
Last year that I know of, and I don't have the total, just from what I saw, we had probably 4 or 5 missions that were mounted out of the airport to go back on one of the Crestone Needles, either for a rescue or a recovery. The National Guard comes in and flies them up and drops them off. Gets us up there much faster, and they land up out at the airport. We don't have, I believe at this time, well, we do have. We have Flight for Life that comes into here, and we also have a flight helicopter service out of Salida. The one in Salida also offers fixed-wing aircraft. So there's times you can fly fixed-wing aircraft when you can't fly a helicopter because of weather conditions. And if we have, with this type of a reporting service, it gives them fairly close information as what we have here. We're not going off what's in Pueblo or what's in Walsenburg. And in those cases, they can land where they are now. But again, you're still on a runway. And if you're in marginal flight conditions and they try to land on that runway with an air ambulance and have a crash, well, then we're back to the point that we were using a runway for, a taxiway for a runway. Is that a fair summation?
Pretty much, yeah.
There's one other point to be made about this say weather. It is going to be temporary until we get an AWOS.
Yeah.
Because once you have an AWOS, you cannot use the say weather.
Right.
But the cost is so low that not having it is a real detriment to the airport.
This is a stopgap measure. The AWOF he's talking about is a much more sophisticated weather system, but it also costs, what, 20 or 30,000?
230,000.
230,000. So, probably not going to happen.
Just my question, I'm sorry, but I just was curious, say weather broadcast over the Unicom frequency, or does it have to be over
Yes.
Unicom?
And by telephone.
Okay.
Another use of the airport out there that It's been a few years ago, but we had a fire on Mackinac Pass by the sand dunes. And I understand they staged out of the airport while they were fighting that fire.
Yes.
The Junkins fire we staged out of the Florence airport, all aircraft. If we were to have a fire farther over here, again, if we had the facilities and stuff, again, that offers a much closer staging point for refueling and loading water than flying another 20 miles or so. Does that give you a feel? I mean, that's anecdotal, I don't have the numbers, but does that seem fairly reasonable to you guys?
Yes.
Like to call the question?
Any other discussion?
Just that was 3,500, right, is what you kept that motion at?
I capped it at
Thank you.
35, it should be good, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, if not, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now you've exercised your one gift for the day.
Thank you. Okay. And yeah, we'll get right on that. Okay, next item is the new fuel dispenser, and that's budgeted. We're finishing up on the bid invitation, and I was talking to Brenda, and she's going to give me a hand on that to get it in a logical format. I've got a whole page full of information, and I don't know if I need it all or not. So she's going to work with me on that. At our meeting, we just go ahead.
What kind of money for that?
The last bid we got was $9,600, and that was last year. We are budgeted for $11,000 on the capital outlay budget. So, and I'm sure we won't come close to that. At least I hope not.
Good. Go ahead.
Okay, that's just info there. That bid invitation, I'll present it to you at the 21st meeting in Wetmore for your approval. So I would like to get that thing sent out to the contractors, get it in the paper by the 1st of April. Get the bids in and open by the end of April, and get construction started sometime early in May.
How much life do we have in that pump right now, Bob?
Lots to go.
Day by day.
Day
Anything breaks, we're
at a time.
SOL.
This time of the year, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Come
Okay.
spring, it will be.
But yeah, come this spring, all of the.
Can you put a hand crank in the tank?
I've done that once.
It's tough.
Very intense.
Well, where I am if we get in a bind or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
can pump it out.
Because we just lost a diesel pump over to county yards, and it took us a while to get it
Right.
replaced.
We've gotten people fuel in the past that the pump didn't work.
Okay, anything else?
Yep. We discussed holding a fly-in on September 23rd, so that's a tentative. And information, the tractor was repaired and returned. They put blades on the blades. I mean, blade, you know.
Is this fly-in scheduled with anything else in the valley?
No, not that I know of.
Wasn't there a Fremont fly on the same day?
No, it's the week before.
Theirs is the 23rd. They've actually already got flyers out on their fly-in for September this year.
The Saturday before.
That's the Saturday before.
Right.
Yeah.
What can we do to make this fly-in special to people?
Lunch.
Give away an airplane.
Yeah.
Or an airplane ride.
Well, I guess what I'm thinking is a chuck wagon breakfast or something that would be something unique you might want to come to.
Well, pancake breakfast we did last year. And it was just more of an open house than anything because it was so early in the year. And it even turned out that way. If you have it in May, you're wasting your time because people can't fly in and fly out. I mean, if they did, it would be a rare day. Okay.
Is it possible to get like a Black Hawk helicopter or something, some attraction?
Well,
people?
yeah.
Just curious.
Well,
Donna did that with veterans.
Right.
Okay, let's.
We haven't worked on those things.
Right.
We just said that they-
We need to.
And then we were researching to see if anybody else in the state had another
Yeah.
event.
We need to move along if we can, is that?
Right, yeah.
Thank you, Dallas.
So we'll discuss all that at our next meeting?
Yes.
Airport meeting?
Yep. Dallas.
Gentlemen, as usual, thank you for all of your volunteer efforts.
Thank you. You're still the old
So
guy.
I really,
I am still.
we as a board
I'll
appreciate
make
it.
these corrections and email to you this
Thanks.
afternoon.
Okay. Oh, that's something that.
Hold on, bud.
Take care.
I was wondering.
All right, our next item of business will be landfill, Rusty, hiding behind the door. Come in and join us.
Okay.
Can I borrow a pen for just a second, Jay?
I tried to shut the wind off for you today.
Well, it died down some, so that's a good thing.
What you got for us?
Okay, so you probably still have my report from last month that we never got to.
Yeah, someplace.
Someplace.
Bring that one up, put it on the time.
I would like you to give us, if you can, a brief update on last year's fiscal results. What it cost us to run the airport and so forth.
Well, last
Can you pull that off just roughly off the top of your head?
You mean the landfill?
Landfill. You said
Landfill,
airport.
landfill, I'm sorry.
yeah, I have it here. The sale of metal and aluminum was 1,046. Cardboard was 8,307.
Okay. Thank you.
Total cash received was 169,423, which is real good for a year.
Telephone.
So the total for the year was 178,000. Let me shut these guys off.
I'll be in touch. I'll be in touch on that. I'll start working on it. I'll get in touch with you.
Okay.
We'll do that together.
And I'll get a hold of Sayweather today.
Good deal.
Okay, we had 163,000.
So total for 2016 was $178,777. That's total revenue. Budget was $231,000. Remaining balance at the end of the year from the budget was $34,000, and so we figure the total cost to run the landfill for 2016 was $18,151. John might have different figures than that, but that'd be pretty close.
Well, I've known about these for a while, but I wanted him to tell us. In the past, we've had 50, 75,000 cost of running the landfill. And this last year, because of what they brought in, we almost broke even.
Real close.
So if we look at the service we're providing for the county, I think it's realistic.
So 2016 was an exceptional year for the landfill out there.
Okay.
Good job. Well done.
What else?
CDPHE, Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, I believe, is coming the 18th of April. Is that right, Brenda?
Yes, I believe so.
And that's in Wetmore.
Yes.
And I was just wondering if the commissioners could come to the landfill sometime and just take a short tour around, so we have a better idea when they actually get here. Then we're kind of up to date on what's going on.
Are they when will they make their next inspection of the landfill?
They usually do that around October.
So this is just a meeting with us based on their last inspection.
Yeah, it's going to be with their new integrated solid waste plan that they came up with. So they're gonna talk about that. And as far as drilling our well, and I'm sure that's going to have to happen.
This is a well that we've been talking about drilling now for probably 3 years.
Right.
Monitoring well, and then we need
groundwater.
It's going to cost more than $18,151.
Can we actually set a date to go tour? I mean, I'd like to do that. Monday or some other day that would work with you
I'd like
folks?
to make sure it's not windy.
Agreed.
Good luck with that.
Okay, well, this is about a month off, so let's see if we can find the date. Maybe we can do it after one of our commissioner meetings.
Yeah, and just let me know, and we'll take a little tour around, and I
Is
can
it
kind of
better
show
first thing
the
or-
commissioners what's planned and if we did an expansion where that would be. And I actually found my map that I have one in 2010 when I went up to Colorado State Department of Health and worked all that out. So I have that map that shows where the expansion would be and the wells and everything's on it. So I have
Is that
that
what
too.
you showed us when we met
Pardon
in
me?
December? You showed us a layout.
Well, he was looking for one, but he didn't find it.
Yeah, and that.
Oh.
Yeah, I found the original from 2010 when I was up there.
With the new administration kind of being much more lax on EPA, is that going to have any effect on us? And will that allow us to do anything that we've been restricted from doing, or do you not know at this point yet?
Yeah, I think it's too early to tell what's going to happen.
Okay.
But I know that they're talking about the EPA all the time, and EPA is where Colorado Department of Health gets their information. So those are their guidelines that come down to the state level. So
it'll be a while.
It could be a while.
Okay.
Let me ask a question. When you do the tour, does everybody need to bring hard hats and wear steel-toed boots, or don't you have some requirements there?
No, not for that. What we'll be
Safety
doing.
glasses in case of debris
Wear some
blowing.
shoes that are comfortable to walk in, and don't be afraid of having a faint odor after you leave.
No problem.
You mean it kind of lingers on?
Well, it depends how deep in the dump you go.
Okay.
The pit you go.
All right.
What else?
Yeah, we'll just walk on top of the pit and just kind of look over in and kind of show you where we're at and where we're going to be digging the next one. I called Caterpillar, and we'll have I'm on the list anyway, for a scraper for May.
What we've done in the past out there, they used the front end loader to dig the pit. And in terms of efficiency, it's very inefficient. And what we approved last fall was bringing in a machine. You're getting a dozer, or you're getting a
It's a scraper.
scraper?
So it's pretty much a one-man operation.
But we can increase the volume of it. And then they also have to screen all of this material.
Right.
So we don't have larger than 2-inch rocks that go back in it.
Exactly. Too bad, because it really used to work out really nice. Because you could dig with the scraper and then go over to a pit that you're covering and just go and dump it off and cover that pit and dig and cover. But now we can't do that. Now we have to stockpile it and run it through our grizzly and get the rocks out of it and then haul it back.
Do you have surveillance cameras out there?
Pardon me, Jay?
Do you have surveillance cameras at the
No, we
landfill?
don't. We don't.
Because I envision people, when they pull up to the gate and they're not there, just leaving their trash outside.
They've done that.
I know they have that. I've seen it. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, they do it. Not as much as they used to since we put the signs on the gate, but they still do it.
Okay.
Once in a great while. It doesn't happen much, but they do that. And and some people, they'll drop it off and there'll be $2 or $3 or something tied to the bag,
At least they're trying.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, I see that you just handed me a Colorado Environmental Covenant Certification form. On this,
Pardon me. That's the first one we've got since we've closed that West Cliff landfill.
this is the one north of town.
Right.
So in here, we will have no excavation, no water irrigation, no trespass. We inspect it, and we maintain the cap, and everything is in compliance, and we're clean on it. So you need my signature as a...
Right.
And
That's the first form we've gotten since we've closed that out there, so.
I don't think that requires a board action other than just a signature.
We went out a year or so ago, maybe it was even 2 years ago, we went out, and after they came out and inspected that, and we got a bunch of trash out of there, tires and all kinds of different things that were exposed, and then got it all covered back up and reseeded. So we should be in good shape, and we put no trespassing signs around it.
What else?
I believe that's it, I think.
Well, I want to bring another one up for you. Rusty and I talked about the possibility of being able to take in more slash at the landfill. We have an opportunity to do some more training with our people out there in terms of burning slash, so we can build bigger piles than the little 4x4x8s we have now. As we're pushing as a county for people to do mitigation around the private property, there's not many places they can go with that waste. I don't know what
Greenleaf out there is taking slash and stumps and just about everything.
But if we just have to see if maybe an additional source of income for us, and would also provide a service to our folks that we're really pushing hard to do wildfire mitigation around the properties. We've not explored beyond that, but it's something I think we need to consider. I don't know we need a decision today, but as we work with Cindy on mitigation, I think we have to provide an opportunity for folks to know.
Place.
What
So
else?
how would you get rid of it?
We just burned it. Yeah, I used to just have a big pile, just collect slash all summer. And then in January or whenever it snowed, then we'd burn it. And then it'd be the end of it, but we can't do that anymore because of the air pollution control people. So.
In the class we're looking at, and also some other people going to it, is a burning certification class. So after they've completed this training, then they have the ability then to go in and they can, they still have to check the weather conditions, all this, but they've had additional training where they consider them now competent to handle it on a bigger basis. I think that's a fair statement. Okay. Anything else?
If we had a grinder, we could take care of the whole deal. But we don't have that kind of money to buy a grinder. That gets pretty expensive.
And even from a chipping standpoint. You reduce it, but you still have issues. Anything from either of you?
Just let us know when you can come down.
Great job out there.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thanks for sending
Yeah,
me.
I'd like to come sooner than later.
Okay.
Well, Rusty's getting a lot of stuff cleaned up out there and a lot of stuff that's had to slip because of time constraints.
That note you sent.
And I think we're really doing good.
Thank you.
Oh, he's waiting for my signature, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then I'll send that off to him.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure they'll be out sometime to inspect that, but who knows when.
Okay, bye.
When you're going to have a garage sale of all the cool stuff that's from That's a joke.
Just bring it over to Jay's shop.
There you go. Anyway, he's not looking at it.
Okay, our next item on the business will be finance.
Thank you, sir.
I just talked to Donna, and she is on hold with CTSI. So as soon as she
Okay,
is
and-
freed up, she can come over.
And we have a treasurer's report that's been submitted to us. I think we've all had a chance to look at it. Our treasurer today is tied up in another meeting, so we're having to, she was by yesterday, and I don't see anything that really caught my eye, but do you folks have any questions on any of it?
I don't have questions. I just want to make sure that on the general fund, page 2, that you note the donation line item. Jay, that's what you were questioning before? So it is listed there, isn't it?
On which line?
Donations.
30, the number 30.
35125 is the code for donations, incoming donations.
35, well, I found it right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's just clarification
Right.
on the donation for the computers.
Got it.
So we have donations of $42.81. And I believe those are probably from you?
Yep.
This is the money from Donna's salary that she's donating back to the county, and that's how we're able to get these computers for them. Anything else?
I need you to sign that one for Virginia. It should be in your signature in the back. Well, right there.
So,
well, no, that's not the one yet. Well, it was in the back. Gee, what'd you do with it?
Oh, it's right here. My name, Robert Cadney, Chairman.
Yeah, there's the original that she had. Yep. There, where it says sign here. Oh, and you already signed it. Great, thank you.
So, I'd
But
like
I
to,
can't sign it yet, though. Just hold
Yeah.
on to it.
I was going to say, I'll make the motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Treasurer's report accepted as submitted. All right, now we are ready for human resources.
Lots of little piles here.
That's not what you left out.
On there, yeah. Brenda had asked me to, about your concerns on the Wetmore building. And I haven't made a copy, I just pulled this off. We are covered with floods, but it is a little different. It's 5% of the insurable value. It's not just a $500 deductible. But I'll make you a copy so you can.
I'm sorry, you're covered 5% of the value or a deductible of 5%?
That's the deductible, instead of 500 like everything else. Well, so much for that.
I'm sorry, I heard that differently. Wow.
Now,
Bad news.
I'm sorry, I wasn't following you. My mistake. No problem here.
but we have a value in there, I think, that we need to change.
On there.
Yeah, which was stated before.
The one you had, I think, was 810 or something.
On the total value. And actually, I can't change that value just intermittently. Is in July, I get an audit of all the vehicles, and I just, as we change, I write them down for a new vehicle that's paid for, and then I put them on our sheet, and then it goes to them so they can get up our.
So we're potentially uninsured for 100 grand.
No, we're a pool, and if I send in send in a car, they're not going to change it because it has to go on my sheet that I submit once a year.
$4,500.
He's talking about something different. He's talking about the building.
We have cost overruns on the building. So it's costing us more than the figures that I gave you.
So you're talking the budget figures, or or what it's worth.
When we're done, the building's gonna run us probably 900,000.
And I can't change what the building's worth until I do that audit of all of our equipment. It's
That's
just
okay.
a once a year.
But our deductible will be 5% of that, so we're at $4,500.
And on that, they said that we cannot do anything to do it until they come to investigate. They will send someone, not like our cars.
Send me a copy of this for my file, please.
Okay, I will.
I like
I
that.
just pulled
Okay,
that
good.
off.
I'm very pleased to hear that. I was concerned we didn't have any flood insurance.
On there, because I was a little,
I was worried about that.
that too with
Very different. I'd like a copy.
on there.
But back to my question. If we're at 850, I think it was 850 or something that I gave you. And if we're now at 900,000 that we spent, and then we get a flood,
Right.
so we take 850,000 times 5%,
Right.
which would be, help me out here,
42.5.
4,000
42,500.
43,500.
42.
So we have 42,500 deductible, and then we're going to have an uninsured loss of about 50,000.
Okay, you're going to hate my answer even more, because I have not changed the value on the building, because it was July and we had done no work. So from July of last year to here, it is sitting at the same place it was with no improvements. So it's not even at the 800. It is sitting where it was, because only in July can I change our numbers on that audit. But we are a pool. Let's say I never changed that building. I totally forgot it. We are a pool, and they guarantee they will not let that happen. We could show our values, because we have, in fact, with this new building, we could show our values way better than at any other time.
Right.
And we would be fine.
So in fact, we are insured
We are absolutely insured
with everything we've invested up to
Yes.
today.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's the best answer I've heard in a long
On
time.
there.
That's what I just said.
On there.
This is great.
Okay.
I have a call in to CTSI with the coordinator, because I'm not sure. When we had that kids club and things, it was an entirely different ballgame when you're dealing with children and their records and minors. And, you know, we're not just talking fingerprints. We have the FBI background checks. We have a huge amount of.
Thank you for doing this.
And so, you know, if someone were else, you know, if they could find a housing for that, if we had an office where we had a lock filing cabinet, that would just be so much easier. Where there would be an overseer, if someone, you know, it would just, and I think they will work on that. But then the bad news of that sentence is, when I was talking to Bob Tobin, I don't think we pay the clinic anything to have our health nurse housed there. I've been asked this question. You know, we have like fax machines and different things that we pay on their behalf, and I think they can use them. But I think it's been, we do not. And I think it's been something that's been grandfathered in from a time that I would not know. You know, we may have bought something and put it in, so we were they let us go and kind of thing. So that may come up, that we owe rent for our public health. So just so you're not surprised.
Just evict us, we don't want to pay it.
Well, and see, remember back over there, we had that doorway, and that's where our health nurse was.
Which doorway? There
used to be a wall, and the
that little space right there.
And so we did house her at one time, and I don't know what transpired that they took her in and what we did, but well, yeah, that people they couldn't turn around. They had to put their robe on out the door and come back in. I don't know, because it was little, but somehow they let us have that room, but it's not been addressed in a long, long time. So
Thank you for that information.
And Bob indicated we needed to address it?
Well, no, but we were talking about this, that, you know, he said that the clinic would be a really good fit to have an office or something like that. And he says, of course, we're probably going to have to charge you something for that, unlike. And I said, I remember that. So, anyway, that may be something.
And I don't see any
That's
problem
just like
with
another FYI.
Yeah, that, you know, so when they say it's 500, you'll think, and I told them that, you know, we do a space, you know, it's a penny per foot or whatever, that we do those, so that, you know, that wouldn't be, you know.
They're not charging utilities per.
Yeah, and no, they're not. Is we do the phones, and I know that one board had talked about putting the health department in the annex. But the only thing is, all the medical records are right there, and they can access them through those secure lines, and it was just prohibitive in cost, or couldn't do it to have them shipped. And so it was better with them there.
And the other thing is, to a degree, the health department is a draw to the clinic. When they come in for shots or something, I mean, for immunizations, you know, with another person who's walking through the doors.
Makes sense.
And when I talked to Beth about it, she felt it was a very symbiotic relationship between the clinic and public health, that they'd be that close to each other.
On there. But on the insurance, I am a little I'm not sure, that they are going to say we need to have
Thank you for checking into that.
a little bit more than that. Because
Insurance on this office.
with with the office, because the health department, that if someone falls up the steps to get in the clinic has, that liability, and then we have our own workman's comp and all that. But at your home, and if someone broke in or just
I don't like the idea of putting it in a home.
on there, but I think we could have a really great program, and I think it's absolutely necessary. But that maybe we get it really a uniform. And my last thing is on the health nurse, the director. On 3/6, which was this Monday, I talked to Kathy White to make sure, see if there was anything going. She actually wanted to know about who was going to do a report for them. So that wasn't what I was expecting, but I told her I would help, and she will send it to those. And it is a yearly one, and they've really worked on it, so it's not quite as hard as I can do a lot of the fiscal. And then they do, how many shots and all that. So that part between Beth and Rhonda and myself, and perhaps Carmeline, because I asked him to send it to Carmeline as well, because we each maybe have a specialty that we can help make that happen.
Who's Kathy White?
With Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, and she's posting that for us. I asked her to repost it one more week, and then as we were visiting, I asked if school nurses were to get that, because this is a perfect time that it's expiring and they're thinking a move would be great. So she was posting it in 2 places, on the school nurse site and there. I have 2 apps in my hand and one more that's possible. That's there, so it has picked up a little bit.
Pretty good.
On there.
Possibilities?
Yeah, one is just like exactly what we're looking for, I think, depending on, but she has all the masters and just everything.
I think we need to be careful so we don't prejudice and just
I'm not trying to do that. I was just concerned because I speak with Beth every other day, and we're so concerned about getting the position filled. I'm just glad we have viable applicants.
Well,
That's all I'm going for.
and
But I
that's the
appreciate what
fun
you're
thing
saying.
that this is so specified that there may be only one that is really, and yay us, because back when we got Donna McDonald, she was the perfect candidate and really grew it, and then Gail as well, so.
But this again is premature until we close them.
On there. And so I did not put a close. It will be one more week. But it's been the best that it's been.
So did you identify it until filled?
I just didn't state. And we've had no one from local that has done it from the newspaper, so I did not run it again in the newspapers. I thought that a month between 2 newspapers, if there were no takers, that there was no one that was being circulated to.
Excellent news. You brought us all kinds of good stuff today.
We had a request yesterday from our VSO. He has not been reviewed since he's been in the position. So we made him aware of the fact that we're working on the form. So that's one of the things you and I will highlight on Monday.
And I do have the one and the goals, so we can go through those.
I'd like to go back and revisit that just a moment. Most vacancies that I've ever seen advertised in a public entity position either gives a close date or open until filled. So there's a definitive cutoff. Well, I don't know if we've got any obligation, Clint, to do that, but that's the normal way that most of the positions, government positions, are advertised. Or else they advertise continuing positions available.
And we can do that really easily, because if I'm not putting it in the newspaper, it is what we have with public health is they are giving a link for the job description to the Custer County website, and it has my email and can just, it'll take Chuck 10 seconds.
You see where I'm coming from on that?
So
does that make sense from personnel
on there?
standpoint?
And I had wrote somewhere like the 15th perhaps, if we wanted to, or you
I would like to go as soon as we can.
Okay. And so
that makes sense
to you. Fill that position. Poor Beth and Carmeline,
It is. It's just I'm even doing the health fair because I knew they were going to be short people. So that what I said. Okay.
So are we, all
I'm
three
there,
of
yeah.
us.
Well, see, usually I don't do it, but I get the lung machine this time. I've done the blood work, and that one was a little much. So I'm moving up or down. I'm not sure which one.
Is this radiology? Are you taking x-rays of lungs?
No, I get to where they blow in the little thing to do that. I think that one will be. I'll be. So I thought that would be a fun one.
A lung cheerleader?
Yeah, because on the blood one, you know, you're hurrying up and you're doing all the little things and getting them to the spin. And some of the people just look so awful after they've given blood that you're thinking, okay, let me put these down and we're going to get you in a chair for a minute. So this one should be a little more entertaining, I think, than the scariness. But
I had a piece of paper a minute ago that was from Gary.
okay.
We talked yesterday about the possibility of adjusting the road and bridge salaries. And I don't know, maybe he got these from you, that 3,800 number?
Yeah, it was, it is 11.65% of the increase. So it would be anywhere from 3,650 to 38, just depending on which number he went with.
Do you see any problem with this added cost of what he had proposed?
No, and what he did was really well thought out, I thought. I mean, he has done an excellent job on that. You know, not huge amounts, but get the morale up, get everybody feeling appreciated, and just not detrimental to his budget, because he'll still come in under.
Being as we talked about this under old business, I think it would be appropriate if we wanted to take action on this. And we need to set a date in which it will take effect. Do you have any thoughts on it?
I think it's absolutely a necessity to do. I think it's appropriate. I think it's right. It's within budget. I don't see any downside to it.
Yeah, I couldn't either.
What's going to be the easiest for you in calculations?
Is now's a good time. If he wants it for the March payroll, I can, because I've not gone in and done my recalculations. So sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the new payroll schedule suggested by Road and Bridge for the Road and Bridge employees, as designated in an attached document.
I'll second.
I apologize. We talk about column 1B.
This would be column 1B.
Yes.
Specify
Want to verify we got the right one.
Column 1B. I'll second the motion as stated.
And any discussion?
Well deserved, and I appreciate all the hard work from everybody involved.
I would like to amend the motion to say that it will take effect on March the 1st.
31st.
30, no.
Oh, March 1st.
First.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You're okay with March 1st?
Yeah, because she hasn't done payroll yet.
Yep, I've
Oh,
not
good.
done any changes,
You
so
accept that
just
as an...
I
put it in there.
certainly do.
All in favor of the motion as stated and amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Good job, folks.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that was it, and I will let you know, I will send an email once because I wanted to talk, you know, an email about the flooding is real easy to, you know, that it's a designated spot, but I wanted to visit on there. So,
I'm really worried about
An email about the what?
the flooding, that this part was fine. But when it's about child and,
No,
and that, I really want
I was
to make
thinking-
sure we get to all the,
I was taking in the bigger picture of flooding, not just the building, I'm sorry. Do we have any other?
You have flooding on the brain.
Two more things.
I don't know if you want to
I
address
think we
that.
ought to address this as
Because
under
their
old
their
business.
meeting is next Tuesday. Thank you,
Thank you
Donna.
very
All right,
much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for everything.
Oh, a pleasure to work with.
there, oh, there you go.
And I have to
I stole your staff member's pen.
Shame on you.
Thank goodness she wrote who it was. I'll give you a copy then. Okay.
Clint, I'm not sure how to proceed with this.
I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, we've got a vacancy on one of our boards. We just got a letter today requesting that we fill a vacancy. I don't see any issues with it, but where we hadn't declared it, is it too late to amend today's agenda to include that?
came to us in the middle of the meeting, Clint.
Doesn't sound like there's a lot of interest, does it? So, I think you can go ahead and handle this as a new business item
On our agenda,
on the agenda for today.
I will amend our agenda today to include a communication that came into us during the board meeting. This is from the Custer County Tourism Board, and I'll read the letter to you. As I'm sure you are aware, Brian Klintz has resigned his position on the Custer County Tourism Board. His stated reason was a lack of time to give proper attention to the activities of the board. Members of the board and I have spent considerable time looking into a replacement to fill a position. We would like to have someone involved in the hospitality industry. We have not found anyone willing or interested in filling the position. In our opinion, that Mr. Greg Smith, who is president ex officio member of the board, has both the interest and the skills to make a contribution to the board as a full member. Therefore, I'm requesting the Board of County Commissioners appoint Mr. Smith to regular member of the Tourism Board to fill the vacancy created by Mr. Klintz. Thank you for your consideration.
I'd like to make the motion to fill a position with Mr. Greg Smith.
Okay, the motion been made to accept Greg Smith. Is there a second?
I'll second.
How about discussion?
I do. Jackie, you're on the board. Do you know this gentleman? Is he a contributor? Or?
He's an ex officio member. Just know him from since January. He's been on the board.
No issue.
What's his background? Anything you can tell us on him?
I don't know too much about him. I think Donna knows more about him than I do.
I just know what he stated as a member. He's a photographer, and he's helped with websites in the past.
Okay, is there more discussion?
Personally, I was really hoping we could get somebody in hotels, restaurants, something like that.
They tried.
I don't know that we tried, but I was willing to go around and talk to everybody. I told Bob that, and I never heard back. So I guess this is what he decided was the best move, and that's fine.
Well, given the correspondence we have in front of us, I will entertain it. But I will call for the vote on the appointment of Greg Smith, Tourism Board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I have just one item I just want to appraise you on and just tell you what's going on. A gentleman called me yesterday. It's actually a lady, I'm sorry. A lady called me yesterday. She's representing the estate of her mother. There's a land question. They want to close out the estate. They've been paying taxes on a road, and he feels that he's spoken to JD. They feel that he owns the road. He doesn't want the road. He'd like to deed it to us. So I was just going to run with it and go talk to JD, find out what's going on, and I'll ask him to come in as another item and ask him if he wants to do that, and we can decide whether we want to accept it or not. I just want to give you an update on it.
Now, what is the road on the county system?
Yeah, it's actually a private road, but it's on the county system to the best of my knowledge. I need to learn more
We need to
about
go
it
through
from
road and
JD.
bridge on this type of stuff that's on the system.
Yeah, I need to find out who owns it first, so I was going to talk to JD and then find out where it goes, then we'll talk to Road and Bridge, and then we can all make a decision on what we want to do.
Okay, anything else?
That's all I have.
Meeting adjourned.
Kelly, I got a question for you. Does your office handle my listed